With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
It's time to bring another season of PRL action to a close, and for two drivers in tonight's Formula 4 action, they will get their chance to get championship glory. After that, of course, we head over to the Formula 3s with open setup. It's going to be a delightful double header of open wheel action here live on RaceSpotTV. Hello everyone and welcome along. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Delighted to be alongside the voice of the PRL, Joey Tebben, once more. As Joey, we close out what's been an exciting Formula 4 season at a tight and technical track that still, I'm sure, is going to produce some great racing here tonight.
Still one of the newest tracks on iRacing, the Hungaroring. We know it from its time, its long history in Formula 1. It's known as a track where it's difficult to pass. It's tight and twisty, there's not many straights, but in these tiny little IRO4 cars with very little power, a very strong draft, we've seen many a race in the past in these open wheel cars. The Hungaroring goes pretty well.
Here's a look at that schedule as we wind things to a close. We started on the streets of Long Beach and we've worked our way to the end of this season. And this back half of the season has been quite interesting, especially up at that championship fight. But as we take a look at the championship standings with 31 points separating Andrew Moran from Takeshi Kita and a rather small field here tonight, Joey, of just 14 cars, Andrew Moran all but secured the championship here today.
I'm about to say your favorite thing, Arjuna. Andrew Moran has not mathematically clinched the championship. Takeshi Kita still technically has a chance because of the way the points work in the PRL. If you win a race, the absolute maximum points you can get on the roadside is 37 points. And also, if you don't finish more than 50% of the laps on the roadside in the PRL, you get no points. So if Andrew Moran crashes and doesn't finish more than 50% of the laps, and Takeshi Kita finishes higher than second and scores more than 31 points, he could still win this championship. It's still possible.
You're trying. We'll see how it goes. Qualifying already underway, of course. Here's a look at the team championships. This is secure, though, Joey. You can't try and defend this one. 136 point splits YS Motorsports Black from Andis Atomic. Not really a fight back to Screwball Racing either, so really not much to watch in terms of the top two, but watch for Blown Tranny Racing as they try and work their way up to third.
Well, you see, if a meteor comes out of the sky and destroys every member of the YS Motorsports team, maybe they'll lose the championship somehow that way. But frankly, it's just strength in numbers here. YS Motorsports and both their black team and their gold team, they've had so many great results. Andis Atomic with Takeshi Kita and Lucio Vargas, they've been a little bit less consistent. As we'll see in the F3 series as well, there's strength in numbers. You need multiple drivers who can pick up points for you on your team.
Plenty to talk about in that team championship as well. You got me very distracted because, oh boy, there is 1 point that splits them in that Formula 3 team championship. You can see the rumble from up above as cars work their way around for qualifying. Andrew Moran is provisionally on pole position. Just to give you a little bit of a tease before we get going any further, though, we got to take the time to thank those that make all this possible, starting with VCO, who present with you today's coverage of the action. Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts. From the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Mecha Sim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake, or sequential shifter, visit Mechasim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. Moranis is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moranis.com. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. And with that, we can focus on the business at hand, and that is going fast. And Andrew Moran, just like he did in the practice session just about 10 minutes ago, 3/10 clear at the top, but Takeshi Kita is going to push as much as he can. He is the one that sits in second, Joey.
Going fast is what Andrew Moran has done all season. He has been the surprise of the season. He was always fast. In the previous 2 seasons of IRO4 competition, the first 2 broadcasted here on RaceSpot, Moran was quick. He had a couple of chances at the lead. He was up there occasionally fighting with the likes of Hamilton Akabuizi and Kevin Santana. But this season he has shown up. He has improved so much. He's won the majority of the races of anybody in the field. And what looked like it might be a Takeshi Kita championship after race 1 when he won Long Beach by 20 seconds has become a very unlikely championship for Takeshi. Andrew Moran has come out of the shadows in that Megacorp entry.
I'm curious if we're going to see him make his way up to the Formula 3 series, of course, next season. Open setup, slightly different car. This IRO4 definitely puts on a show. It's become known within the iRacing circles. Michael Dowden jumps his way up to second as he tries to close on Takeshi Kita. Yes, he has a chance to grab second in points, but it is going to require a little bit of luck swinging his way. Coming to the line, though, is Andrew Moran going to find even more speed in qualifying. He'll find just over 0.2 of a second to go almost half a second clear at the front.
Arjuna, I have some very good news for you. As Jake Vasconcelos comes to the line and sets exactly the same lap time, Andrew Moran will be moving up to the F3 Series next season.
Lovely.
I see that he's signed up. Takeshi Kita will be moving back up as well. Even though it's a late night for him in Chile, he said, you know what, I got to go back to my home in the F3 Series. I'm moving up again. He'll also be followed by Neil Alexander, Drew DeWeese, Barry Cochran, and a whole bunch of drivers in the IRO4 Series who want to move up.
Exciting times. And it's always that time as well when drivers get a bit of momentum moving into a new iRacing build. Who knows what changes are going to come, and they can potentially pick up a bit of speed with those changes. Alexander's going to see no improvement. Will the 711 machine find a better time? Don't think so, as 12 out of 14 machines have currently got times. Tyler Gore has not attempted a qualifying lap time just yet. We wait for Drew DeWeese to be amongst those to throw themselves onto the board. Santana works his way through the middle sector of the lap, but here comes James O'Brien, Joey, in the private label Team Hype machine.
In his first season of actually qualifying, thankfully. He spent so much time over the past couple of seasons not qualifying, just learning the road course ropes, riding at the back. But he finally realized, you know what, I've got pace, I can actually compete for wins, I better start actually qualifying. So it's been good to see him up front this season. He's had a couple of podiums, he's come close to winning a couple of races, one at Montreal, and he's very much improved his road course skills here in this IRO4. Andrew Moran around the final corner, he's already on pole, but can he make it even worse for Takeshi Kita? No, he can't, no improvement for him.
I think we're seeing a lot of drivers just trying to warm up by cooling their tires and go for another run. Vasconcelos 4/10 off as I think he continues to try and push. Kevin Santana did have a healthy dose of draft, but I don't think the last lap counted, and so as a result, no improvement from him. Takeshi Kita, though, on a bit of a push, but another one struggling to get some improvement onto the board. Let's take a look at those weather conditions, and one thing that may slightly be impacting that is the fact that we're in the morning. Sun's rising, but with no cloud to stop it, Joey.
Yeah, it's only going to get hotter here. It's very temperate. It's 80 degrees Fahrenheit, about the temperature of a tepid Hungarian goulash, so you're not going to be working up the tires too hard at that temperature. But as you said, Arjuna, the clouds are out of the sky. The sun is rising. It's only going to get hotter as the session goes on.
Cochrane actually now gets the spot inside of the top 10. We did hear the klaxons go off as a couple of cars roll their way down on towards pit lane. So James O'Brien in the 33, 5 minutes left to go. I think if we're giving a cool-off lap on the tires. It gives drivers one more flying opportunity after this, and O'Brien will find enough time to work his way up to second. So despite potentially raising track temperatures, lowering times rather out on track.
Michael Dowd's not going to quite have the same luck. I think this is a little bit of an outlap, or he had a little bit of a mistake earlier, but we'll definitely see him pick up some more speed. This will be the real test, though. Andrew Moran. James O'Brien was able to bring that gap down. What can Andrew Moran do on his next lap? Out of the final corner, looks perfectly clean. It's not. Oh, it is faster, just by a teensy little bit, a couple of thousandths of a second.
Ooh, but it didn't count.
And too bad for him, but no harm, no foul. I think he's still happy with that pole lap.
No, I'm sure he is. Although interesting to see the consistency that we saw out of him. Santana last time by 4.48 compared to the best of the 2.38, so he doesn't find any speed on the boards. Austin Harris winds out in that yellow, black and white machine. Is he going to find himself carving his way forward? Unlikely, but he's got at least another 2 laps around the track, depending on how he wants to set all of this up. Small field, but by no means does that mean that you're not going to see a great race here, Joe, because these machines are known for the amount of draft they really put out.
And look at the drivers in the top 5. Moran, O'Brien, Dowden, Kita, Santana. 4 out of 5 of those drivers have won races this season, and James O'Brien is desperate to get his first win. There's a little bit of separation in qualifying lap time. 0.6 is a reasonably big gap as James O'Brien goes drift mode there. But you can basically guarantee that this will be a pretty good race as James O'Brien seems to be setting up a second lap here, going for a late apex to get as much speed onto the front straight. And now James O'Brien will be on the clock for real for one of his final laps.
So we are going to see Dowden across the line next, but I do see that Moran's trending positively. 3rd in the championship coming into this race in the all-black stealth machine. Can Dowden find himself some improvement? He will, but it won't be in terms of position on the board. He stays in 3rd. Now Andrew Moran, championship elect, across the line. Will he find some more time? No, he cannot. 0.3 slower this time by. Maybe an opportunity if O'Brien can find himself some improvement. It was looking good for O'Brien until it basically got into the final sector.
Jake Vasconcelos just puts himself into the top 5, so he's probably unhappy that I undersold him there. I was only talking about the top 5, but Vasconcelos has had a pole this season. He's been very fast. He could also very well be one of those drivers who steals a win in the final race of the season. Takeshi Kita setting up one more lap for him. Here comes Austin Harris.
Can you run
the
that
7th
wide?
driver in contention?
We're not going to find out on the apparently it did count, but interesting track limits there, and that's something that I guess these drivers will know a lot more than me on, Joey. Do you know about track limits here? Can you guide us through a lap?
I can never keep track of track limits in a place like this, but I'm pretty well sure about what you can do and what you can't do, just based on how many penalties I've got when I've run this place in the past. But down the hill here, you're pretty well off in most corners of the Hungaroring because there is grass runoff. But when you go up over the top of the hill at turn 11, you basically can't extend over the white lines, or else you're dead out of bad luck here as we ride on board with Michael Dowden, who I just realized isn't actually an all-black paint scheme. There's a little bit of spec mapping there and a little bit of logo work that I've never actually seen before. Yeah,
there is a spec map that's pointing its way on through. Now, Dowden trending decently on this lap, but how is it out of the final sector? Again, level of consistency. Thousandths splitting those 2 laps. Moran will be next, though. Almost 0.3 clear for now, and finds himself another 0.5 with 40 seconds left to go.
He's just showing everybody up right now. He's one of the only drivers who's actually managed to find speed deep into this session. But hopefully, as I say that, Takeshi Kita can get himself a little bit closer here out of the final corner. Not the closest to the wall on the inside as you can possibly be. Some drivers do like to ride the curb coming out of the final corner, but Takeshi takes it a little wide and it works for him. That's a 0.3 improvement. That's him up to 2nd.
He'll at least start on the front row as it stands right now. Moran done in qualifying. He's pulled off. Can anyone else find improvement? Deweese did manage to find himself on the board. Everyone, in fact, is on the board. Kita spun himself around out of turn 1, and so he's the first car that we know will be done with qualifying. Still a couple of cars with opportunities to find some improvement. Deweese, one of them, but I don't think we're going to see any improvement out of him. It'll be Neil Alexander then. We'll watch across the line first, Joey.
Neil Alexander going for a late apex there into one of the final hairpins at turn 13. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to drag speed out of this car, but it's a tight line out of the final corner. Here comes Neil Alexander to the line. Can he get Joseph Homan potentially? He finds 2/10, needs a little bit more. He will be fighting with Homan for one of the last spots in the top 10, I think, but qualifying not quite going Neil Alexander's way. But here's Michael Dowden's final shot.
James O'Brien did, I think, wreck, by the way, so that's him done and dusted for qualifying as well. But Michael Dowden out of the final corner in the apparently not all-black machine. No improvement for him. It leaves Vasconcelos out on track, as well as Michael Blaze and Kevin Santana, but 3 final cars left, and I think Vasconcelos will duck down on towards pit lane. That's him done for the session. Now the almost all-red machine. A bit of work through the sides. Blaze very much pushing the limits of the track. We'll see him come his way forward. He's looking to charge from 8th. Santana from 6th, Joey. Final chances in qualifying.
I think my timing is correct here, and that's going to be an 8-minute 34 for Michael Blaze. So, you know, it's disappointing when you lose 7 minutes of lap time, but he'll come back when race time comes.
I mean, I just assumed that was wrong, to be honest. You know, it's one of those things that you look at and you're like, it's not possible, surely.
That's like a 20-mile-per-hour average or something?
Exactly. Let's see if we can pick up what happened to James O'Brien, by the way, because there will be pit stops in this race, and so I think it's quite important, Joey, that public service announcement.
Oh, no.
Don't do this. Thank you, James O'Brien, for contributing.
It's pretty obvious why that happened. He's a private label team hype driver.
True, Jason Brophy is watching and nodding on in approval. So is Phil Krause and Joshua Chin, to be fair.
That is the first flip I think we've seen in the IRO4 series all season. So
is it really?
I haven't been here for all the weeks, but I cannot remember many times we've flipped an IRO4 in the PRL. So James O'Brien, he might have to get an award for that.
No, I've been commentating on another series, Rallycross series on Racecraft TV, Racecraft Rallycross, and it's gotten to the point where I have just asked for a flip counter now because it is increasingly ridiculous how much Rallycross drivers seemingly find a way to flip their cars. Hopefully, not a concern for these drivers. They're qualifying in the books as they get ready to go for the final time this season. Slightly smaller field, but I'm sure the level of racing going to be just as intense as per normal. Round 10 of the 2023 Season 1 of the Precision Racing League Formula 4 Series is ready to go. Let's run you down through the starting grid. Andrew Moran grabs the pole position, his 3rd of the season as he looks to wrap up the championship. He's got Takeshi Kita alongside. He's going to try and do what he can. He needs a miracle to steal the title away. James O'Brien, great qualifying from him as he tries to grab a victory here this season. Dowden, Vasconcelos and Santana make up the rest of the top 6. It'll be Austin Harris from 7th. He's got Michael Blaze alongside with Barry Cochrane and Joseph Homan, 9th and 10th positions. Neil Alexander and David Herbert, 11th and 12th. With Tyler Gore and Drew DeWeese rounding out the slightly smaller field of cars as they get ready to go today. Again, I don't think we need to talk about it too much more when it comes to pit entry because James O'Brien has done most of the talking for us. But Joey, I think pit strategy here is going to be just as important as ever because we know that you can save fuel in the draft, and save fuel, they'll try.
If we do have a race that we've kind of expected with the top 6, the top 7 so close on pace, you're going to be running a little bit train mode here. You're going to be riding in the draft of another driver. You're going to be saving fuel whenever you can. It's fuel limited here, so the tires will go to the end of the race, but it looks like we're ready for the green flag.
Here we go. Engines rev once more. The Hungaroring, the site of the season finale of 2023 Season 1 of the Precision Racing League Formula 4 Series. They storm their way down on what's a rather lengthy run into towards turn number 1. Takeshi Kita alongside into the braking zone, but being respectful of Andrew Moran, who gives plenty of room, but so much room Kita's allowed to fight alongside as they sweep their way down the hill and in towards turn number 3, the second braking zone. Moran now comfortably in the lead as overshooting the corner. James O'Brien, who will diamond back into line, but back in P5 for the time being, but they storm their way now up the hill to work into the middle sector.
A little bit overeager into turn 2 for James O'Brien there. Cold tires, cold brakes. You see a position in front of you, you want to fire it around the outside, but the brakes are still not warmed up here. The tires are still ice cold, and in this IRO4, the tires do take a little bit of time to warm up. They're very hard rubber.
Keita giving a bit of a block there to Michael Dowden, and he makes a mistake. I heard a bit of contact potentially as well over the anti-cut curbs, and now Keita will have a monster of a slowdown to serve as a result of this, and they'll stack up behind him. Moran running away already, 2.5 seconds clear. Keita still holding them up as they jockey, trying to work their way through side by side further back. Utter chaos on lap number 1.
Andrew Moran says, thank you very much. I'm going to be a very, very comfortable guy here because now you know that with Vasconcelos in the draft, with everybody else behind him, they're going to be too busy fighting over second unless they can find a way to let Takeshi Kita get down to business or let somebody else with more pace bring that 2-second gap down. But when you see a 2 and your relative behind you on lap 1, you're usually pretty happy.
So you can see 33 minutes to go, a long way in this race, and despite the fact that Moran now has a 2.3 second advantage as they come across the line, we'll see if Keita can put the pressure on and if those behind will be willing to work with him if he's got the pace in what will be a draining race for those behind, because 2nd through 13th are all stacked up in queue. It is just Moran that has been able to scamper his way on through. Let's grab a look then at a set of replays. That's this.
Oh, we got hit.
I did tell you I heard a little bit of contact, and so we'll have to keep watching for a little bit because there was another car that went off behind, but they all just stack up here as Keita has to serve what I think is a monster of a slowdown.
Well, that's what you can do with the Hungaroring. You can be a little bit cheeky and serve your slowdown in the middle of the corners there where nobody can really pass, and I think one way or another he has managed to serve that. But you see Michael Dowden does get into the back of him there. Takeshi's lucky he didn't get any damage from hopping over the curbs there. He didn't break his suspension. But I think he was just luckily able to serve that penalty while everybody checked up behind him.
I'm impressed more than anything just because lap 1's slowdowns are always the most painful, and so whatever he was able to do, he did it quite effectively. Gap has grown now as they work their way in towards the penultimate couple of corners on the lap. Heavy braking zone, Vasconcelos, increasing amount of pressure being put on towards Keita as we ride on board with 3rd spot, sweeping their way on through. Keita grabbing a little bit of the inside curb, which can rotate the car, but to always make sure that it's not over-rotating the car, and Vasconcelos was trying to set up the momentum potentially, but a little bit loose and allows himself to run a little bit wide off the corner, and Kevin Santana and the 666 has lit up the tires and gone for a loop.
It's a weird place to lose it into the final corner, but you are on the brakes, and we know one of the defining characteristics of this IR04 is that it loves to loop around the brakes. The suspension is so marshmallowy and springy, the brakes are so finicky, that if you get on the brakes just wrong, also while you're putting steering input into the car, this car just decides to loop around, and at that point there's no saving it, especially when you're on that little bit of a camber difference coming off the track onto the green runoff there.
Michael Blaze and Austin Harris alongside as they dive their way down through the hill, and Austin Harris able to squeeze his way on by. Brave move there, but confidence in the other driver to leave him just enough racing space a bit further forward. Increasingly pressure as now Michael Dowden tries to insert himself into the fight. Vasconcelos, as ever, with a couple of technical issues. Always scary as a driver, Joey, but you can see gap continues to grow. Andrew Moran flying here today.
We always call Abner Acosta the tire wizard on the NASCAR side of the PRL. I think we got another magician. We got the vanishing Vasconcelos here.
I like it. I like it. Well, we do need to get, I think, a comic book going with some of these guys, though. We just need to...
Mr. Sneaky, Takeshi Kita?
Yeah, I'm just saying there is plenty of potential. I'm sure there's an artist in the PRL community as well that can help us get this going.
Nick Hunter?
Is Nick Hunter an artist?
He does like graphic design stuff, so I mean there's got to be some transfer there.
I mean, maybe we need to go to Martin Crisp, because did you see what he's done with the SimCity?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean,
too.
We were complaining on Tuesday about how it's impossible to tell the difference between SimCity racing cars, and they've already responded. So shout out to SimCity Racing, I guess.
But then Sean Dickinson. So if you are not in the Precision Racing League Discord server, I believe the link to join is on the forums.
I know what you're going to say
Martin
already.
Crisp posted a design. He posted a theoretical design of his GT3 car, and it was beautiful. And then his teammate Sean Dickinson goes, we're not going to use that next season.
You mean the car in particular?
Yeah.
Yes, he was trying to be rather vague about the car choice. O'Brien and Harris now fighting a little bit more as Harris again tries to work his way through in the same sequence of corners, this time able to do it a little bit easier. Blaze will fake a move to the inside, but really it's all about building a little bit of momentum up. And yeah, again, just to remind you, commentators are not smart. We need all the help we can get. So if you've got multiple drivers from the same team in a race, maybe it is wise to help us out. Blaze will fire it down the inside though, and O'Brien don't think really saw it coming, can't really do much to defend it. And now, crucially on the inside, Blaze into the chicane, gets his way up to 6th.
It's going to be a very exciting battle to watch. It's going to be very happy for Austin Harris, because these two are going to give it everything. Michael Blaze, he's known as a driver who definitely gets aggressive. And James O'Brien, he's going to have to be aggressive here. He's mad because he threw his chance at the podium away with one mistake on lap 1. And as always, you find one unstoppable force reaching an immovable object, and eventually something's got to give.
Lap 1 mistakes of the Hungaroring never would happen. Who'd have thunk it? Squabble for 9th on back, by the way. They are really tripping all over one another. Right now, it's Herbert from Gore, Deweese, Santana as he tries to fight his way forward. Homan in that 222 as well. Santana really with nowhere to go as the Mark of the Devil tries to brand its way on forward, but I think going to have a good opportunity here off the final corner to get in the draft and power his way in towards turn number 1. And meanwhile, front of the field, or at least for second, Vasconcelos squeezes his way as he tries to make a move on Kita.
Keshi's got the inside coming down the hill into turn 2. It's not enough, though. Vasconcelos was clear into the braking zone. He's up into second for the moment, but this battle isn't over, and you can see just that one dive from Vasconcelos did. The gap was about 2 seconds. It's now up to 5 seconds. That gap is not coming down unless some things go very, very drastically wrong for Andrew Moran. But Takeshi Kita wants second. If something does happen to Andrew Moran, he needs to be in second to pick up the pieces.
I think you're not giving enough credit to Andrew Moran just now, because in terms of lap times, he's continuously punching in what are some of the quickest lap times of the race. Second grouping, by the way, comes its way on through. That's Blaze now leading from Harris and O'Brien, so continuing to drop back. Kita maybe falling a little bit as well as Dowden hope that Vasconcelos doesn't truly run away. Let's take a look at those lap times and let's see how exactly it's trending out, because fortunately we have the ability to do that. So 44.1, 43.9, 43.9. So that's pretty good so far. Let's go look at Kita, because he's been leading the group. 45.0, 44.7, 44.9. I rest my case, Joey.
I mean, you can't argue with the numbers, and I think when they cross the line this time, we're going to get an even bigger number just because of that little battle. Let's see, Moran's going to cross the line here. It's a 144.3, so a little bit of fall off. You know, he's slacking a little bit, but Takeshi Kita and Vasconcelos cross the line. 145, 145.7. That is what battling will do for you at the Hungaroring.
It's why I hate, I mean, in general, Joey, it's what battling does, right? It's why, as a commentator now, I've become rather, unfortunately, cynical, because it's like, I want to get excited for battles, but it's like, if you battle, you're just going to let the guy in front run away. It's utterly depressing. For example, I'll put to you Porsche Esports Super Cup at Magny Core last time by, where it's just like, I want to see Diogo Pinto send a lunge on whoever he was fighting for second at the time, but he can't, because he knows that Charlie Collins will just run away if he does so. And so he has to wait till the final lap of the race to try and do anything, because he knows that it's more important to try and close. It's just sad.
It is sad. You want to... the rant is over. I'll continue it for a moment. You want to fight as hard as you can for second place, because you're always thinking, you know what, I'm faster. I'm the faster driver. I'm the one who can bring down this gap to the leader. I want to make the move. Unfortunately, sometimes you do realize that just isn't the case, and you're just hurting yourself more than you're helping yourself. Also, Austin Harris has joined the fray of YS Motorsports drivers who have spun in this session. His teammate Kevin Santana made another mistake a couple of minutes ago. Now Austin Harris joins the fray.
Let's grab a look then at a handful of replays, because have been a couple.
Oh,
yep.
We almost got our second flip.
Unfortunately, almost like the NASCAR thing where they have those aero flaps that try and stop things. That involved Kevin Santana, although to be fair, he was all the way on the inside. I don't really know much more he could have done. What happens with Austin Harris into the mistake from Michael Blaze, and again, no fault to either of them there. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, Austin was being very, very kind and very, very self-preservatious, if that's a word, but he went a little bit too hard in it. He swerved to make sure he didn't get into the side of Michael Blaze. But you can see it really clearly here. He made a little bit of an overcorrection, and he did well to not get in the wall. I think there was just a little bit of a tap of the Armco. I think that suspension is still straight, but that was a little bit overcautious from Austin Harris, I think.
I mean, to be fair, at least it's better to have a undamaged race car than anything else. There are a handful of drivers out on track with damaged race cars, including some of our drivers at the front. I thought Michael Dowden had a little bit of damage to the front wing of his car.
That's from hitting Takeshi on lap 1.
Yeah, so you can actually visually see it as well, but it's just that we really haven't taken a look up close. Yeah, there you can see it.
A little bit of a scrapey to the nose. The wing itself looks pretty straight, so I think he's very, very lucky. Even though it was a little bit of front wing contact to the rear wheel of Kita's car, it's just a little bit of a dink on the nose. Looks like a little bit of bird poop splatter on the black car, but he'll be fine. It's no real damage, just cosmetic.
Just showing a little bit into the final sequence. Gap out front now to 6.5 seconds. About halfway through this race almost. Drivers continuing to try and chase down Andrew Moran as he tries to waltz his way to what would be a 5th win this season on his route to the championship. 5 wins in 10 races is not bad, and Moran has finished all but one race, 7 of those 9 so far inside of the top 5.
That's how you win championships. We always say it's all about consistency. That was Andrew Moran's problem in previous seasons. He had the speed, he didn't have the consistency, he spent too much time wrecking out of possible wins, and this season he has turned that all around. He didn't win the first race of the season. He could have started doubting himself with Takeshi Kita winning by 20 seconds at Long Beach, but he didn't. He got back to work, he got back to his speed, and unless he crashes himself here, he has the championship in the bag in 21 minutes time.
Oh, you had to mention Long Beach.
Yep.
You know where the Porsche Esports Supercup is going this weekend, Joey? Because the fans voted for it.
I can't wait to see turn 1.
The fans! Well, they're going to get what they want. I think you're right. I'm not even worried about the fountain because I know turn 1's where all the action is going to be.
If I remember correctly, I don't think we got to turn 1 before we had a little bit of trouble in the GT3 Fix series when we went there earlier this season, but I don't know, maybe they'll do a single file start or something. They'll have something in the bag.
No, you can't mention single file starts anymore. Not after what happened on Tuesday night.
Never again.
Never again. We're not allowed. Yeah, certain Coke people, very unhappy. Very unhappy. I need to talk to Jason Brophy about that a little bit more, actually. It does remind me. 21 minutes left to go. Vasconcelos actually closing, I think, this lap. Not sure if that's a mistake from Moran or necessarily more speed out of Vasconcelos. We'll get an indication at the line. Half a second gain from Vasconcelos with a 44.235, comparing to a 7.93 for Moran. They're catching, that's for sure.
And that was off Andrew Moran's fastest lap. His best lap in the race is a 1:43.9. His most recent lap was a 1:44.7. So I don't think that'll be consistent, but potentially he has overheated the tires a little bit. It is possible to do. I know I've done it. You might not think that's possible in the 15 minutes of an opening stage of the race, but at the Hungaroring with a ton of high-speed corners, this car does like to be finicky in its tire heat. So that is possible for Moran. We got more trouble for Drew DeWeese in the background in his IR04 swan song.
Ooh, side by side, Blaze and O'Brien. So yes, trouble for DeWeese. He's dropped down to 11th position. O'Brien gets back up in front of Blaze after they duel it out and now find themselves losing a little bit more time, allowing Austin Harris to try and claw his way back into this one after his avoiding action took himself off the track, albeit unwillingly. Kita trying to hold on to the draft of Vasconcelos as well. I get the feeling like Vasconcelos just is pushing just that little bit more now. And one thing that, Joey, at this track in particular, I find, especially in these smaller open wheel cars, that is more difficult to navigate, is some of the curbs here, especially through that chicane, are quite nasty.
They are very nasty, and that's that comes with practice. When at all of the grade 1 tracks like this, you have to learn that you can't use every single curb, not even just in terms of the sense of track limits, in terms of getting off tracks, but some of them are not as kind and pretty as you think they are. There are curbs, like Arjuna said, at the chicane that will get you that little bit out of shape. They'll raise the rear tires up as Takeshi Kita goes around at turn 1. He didn't even need the curb.
Well, the championship was all but decided, but Takeshi Kita will slide his way off, and now has to try and fight his way back in to close on Dowden. Blaze past O'Brien as these two continue the ding-dong back and forth that has seen Austin Harris close to within about 2.4 seconds of these drivers as they work their way down the hill once more. But Takeshi Kita proving that turn 1 here can be treacherous, even for those feeling confident and pushing as much as they want. Let's grab a look at what happened to him.
All right, Takeshi, he's my former teammate, or I guess still technically my current teammate, so I can be a little bit harsher on him, but let's see what happened. Old Takeshi on the brakes into turn 1. I have to imagine it's going to be very similar to what we saw with Kevin Santana earlier. Everything looks straightforward, under braking into turn 1, but just waits a little bit too long, takes a little bit too much speed in. And once you start looping an IRO 4 around, there is absolutely no saving it. It's like a pendulum. There's nothing you can do. He's got to make sure your speed is minimized and you're in control of the vehicle when getting it slowed down, because you're out of luck if you're not.
So that's now Kita with some tires very much warmed up. 4.3 back off a podium position. But 16 minutes still left to go. Blaze with maybe a bit of a small mistake there. O'Brien not choosing to jump onto it just yet. Austin Harris is very much closed on, and I do wonder if you are one of these drivers, would it be worth potentially ducking down to the pit lane a little bit early, grabbing your pit stop, because the more you fight, the more time it is really costing you. 45s, 46s for these drivers compared to 44s at the front. Speaking of lap times, Vasconcelos closes less the last time, but 3 laps consecutively, he's been faster than your race leader.
We are starting to reach that halfway point, so it is about time to start thinking about pit stops if you're anybody in the field. Usually in this series, and in the F3 series for that matter, drivers like to extend the fuel tanks for as long as humanly possible. They only come in when they absolutely need to. But if you are Austin Harris, for example, or James O'Brien, you're riding in the back of a train, the only way to do an undercut in the PRL is to back out of traffic and run some clean laps, because these races simply aren't long enough to need a tire change. You only need a fuel fill because of the limits placed on the fuel tank by the series. So the laws of physics require you to make a pit stop. You don't necessarily need to, though, because tire life isn't going to give you any advantage after a 20-minute run.
Track limits. Just saying, as we ride on board.
If he gets disqualified, that'll be championship over.
Wait, what? Good point. So that's...
Well, actually, Takeshi's in 3rd right now, so he wouldn't even get enough points.
So I see what you mean, because Kita would grab 3rd if Moran was disqualified. So clearly, I see, okay. Kita's got to finish, what, 2nd?
Yes, Kita needs to finish 2nd if Moran gets 0 points. So he's got to pass Michael Dowden, and he's also got to hope that Andrew Moran racks up 17 incident points on the road courses. If it was Joey Tebben in front of him, he could probably rely on that at a grade 1 track, but unfortunately it's not, as I believe that's Joseph Holman.
It is.
Living up to the Joseph name.
Yeah. He rides and it just snaps as he grinds on the curb. Dislodges the left front, but the wheel tether does its job. Oh, that's a vicious, vicious hit.
I think he forgot to turn his wireframe off as well, so maybe that's karma for that. But
did he really?
I think I saw some wireframing there. I don't know if that's deliberate, like Michael Terrafino, but I saw some. Wait,
is Michael Terrafino's actually deliberate, or is he just saying it's deliberate?
I don't even know, but I have to imagine it's been on there for 3 seasons now, so it's got to be deliberate.
Sure, I'll buy it. On board with Michael Blaze as he battles with Takeshi Kita, with James O'Brien as he battles with Michael Blaze, because they've swapped themselves around once more, working their way into that chicane. Austin Harris has actually lost a little bit of ground. Not sure if he maybe pushed a little bit too much and got a slowdown or something. Not inconceivable at a track like this, but he's fought back once. He'll have to do it again. They haven't gone side by side just yet since we checked in with these two. see different lines being taken as well, which I always find quite interesting.
That's partially just drivers getting a little bit out of rhythm, but that is partially also in this in the Formula 1 car, or in the top level of Grand Prix racing, where you're normally racing at this track. There's one line through that middle sector, as we got another victim of the turn 6 wall there, turn 5 rather. That is David A. Bear. Kablamo.
I think we need to get a look on board with Neil Alexander as well, because my oh my, change of underwear please. Riding on board with the driver in 14th spot, and just I'm pretty sure there was a little bit of nose contact there, but bygones beat bygones. That car was already going off the road. One driver has elected to pit, but we're still waiting for the vast majority to decide if they want to come on in a little bit early. I'm still a bit surprised that maybe James O'Brien has elected not to pit just yet. Meanwhile, at the front, it's almost like Andrew Moran has heard us talking. Back to his fastest ways. 44.1 last time by, at least 2/10 quicker than everyone else sat on track.
He's back doing Andrew Moran things. Just a fun little track day here at the Hungara Ring. He's got 13 more minutes. That's what, 7 more laps, something like that. I can't do the math in my head, but he's got it in the bag right now. He has more pace than anybody. Literally, his only job is keep it within the track limits, make sure you don't get a penalty, make sure you don't crash it yourself and get killed in the turn 4 curb like Homan and Bear, and you're fine, and you're all good.
So, Vasconcelos pushing as hard as he can. Just got word that pushing himself so hard that he ran off the track just a little bit, but don't think it's cost him too much time. Moran still electing to stay out. With a smaller field, does mean that there's windows with which the drivers that are towards the front can come down and pit by. I think the vast majority realizing that it's better to try and keep the car, rather run the car until it's as light as possible. Michael Blaise, though, I think has decided it's time to come down, because with 12 minutes to go, he's followed into pit lane by Austin Harris.
It's a tough choice when you're James O'Brien there, because you could just follow Michael Blaise in, keep up to the back of him, and hope that that your private label team hype pit crew can give you a little bit of an advantage to get out ahead of him and just continue your race after the pit cycle continues. But he's going off strategy. He's going for an outlap of his own on clean track, and he's going to try and jump Michael Blaise once he comes back in. Either option could work, but you got to make sure that that additional lap is absolutely perfect, or else you're going to lose all that progress you might have made up.
On board with your leader once again. Really getting a fleshed out open wheel ladder now, as Max Esterson's Formula Ford machine is going to be joining iRacing shortly. There's plenty of options. I think that is for sure. We're definitely not limited. I think that's the case now, Joey.
I believe the official name was the Ray Race Cars Formula 1600, so you get to play with that. You get to play with the Formula V. You get to still play with the Skip Barber Formula 2000, which is being retired. It's being pushed out, but it's still out there. And your guy Michael Blaise, who came in early, well, his decision to pit early has ended very, very badly because he just crashed so hard he had to tow.
Yeah, but I think it's pit time, and unfortunately, it's going to be a deja vu for those on this replay.
Oh no! Turn 4 again.
You can't even say cold tires because we know exactly what's going on now.
It is a cursed turn, and Michael Blaise just clips the little seam there. It's a difference of coefficients of friction in a way, with 2 of your tires on the track and 2 of your tires on the curb. But there's a little groove that the tires just jump in and out of, and that just spits you into the wall. There's nothing you can do there. Stress-free for Andrew Moran, though. He's out, away, and he's still got just as big of a lead as before.
So we know that Blaise's incident, rather, is going to release O'Brien just a little bit. Question will be where does Austin Harris, rather, factor in. Takeshi Kita jumps Michael Dowden, who has a 10.8 second pit stop. James O'Brien, lengthy as well, 11.4 second pit stop.
Some people forgot to uncheck their tires.
Well, in the case of Dowden, I was also going to wonder, is there damage repairs to talk about, as there's a bit of a battle on the merge on pit exit. Harris and O'Brien do end up side by side after O'Brien's lengthy pit stop. Harris a little bit long in the box as well. He's the one on the inside, though, as they fire it down the hill.
James O'Brien is just leaving all the room in the world coming down the hill into turn 2, but it's worked for him in a way. He's got the switch back on Austin Harris. Austin gets a little bit of an off track there, off into turn 3. But again, James O'Brien should have won this battle easily. He should have been in clean air with Michael Blaze erasing himself. And now he's got Austin Harris in front of him just because of one of those critical mistakes in the pits. But it's private label team hype again. He's had such trouble in the pit lane today.
So, let's focus in on this machine. This is Michael's.
It's fixed.
Yeah, no, I think that's damage repair. So does that mean James O'Brien potentially got a bit of damage as well?
I don't think he did, but I think the reason it took so long for Michael Dowden is there was no real damage there. It was just cosmetic, and it took the pit crew so long to get out the black Sharpie and color it in.
I was going to say, it was quite effective painting, or they were able to switch the front wing, which is a more expensive option, at least virtually.
That would be an unnecessary switch, I think, because there is no damage. But you never know. You never know. Sometimes it's on the line, and they decide to switch it anyway.
6.5 minutes left on your clock. Excuse me, 8 minutes left on the clock. But I'm seeing 6 minutes left to go in this race, so I don't think this is a time-limited race. I think we're laps limited now, Joey.
I think it depends. Some weeks we end on time. Some weeks we end on laps. It's inconsistent.
It doesn't help us.
Yeah,
the worst part is broadcast graphics give us the option of time, laps to go, or laps to go. It only gives laps and laps to go if laps are configured in the session, which means both a time and a laps limit are configured in the session, and it's close enough that it's confusing.
And also, I have bad news for Takeshi Kita. I just realized this about 7 laps ago when we reached halfway. Andrew Moran guaranteed himself points, so he's just won the championship.
Oh, because qualifying.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, just because he has to finish. Because of the amount of cars in the race, if he finished...
Oh, 75%. Or whatever the race
50%.
50%.
50% in this series. 75% in the GT3 series was a thing they were trialing this season. We may see this in this series next season, but... Andrew Moran's got it. He's finished 50% of the laps.
I knew I remembered 75% from somewhere.
So many numbers.
Well, the problem is, breaking the fourth wall. I had my power go out about an hour and a half ago, or 2 hours ago, whatever it was, and yeah, totally not panicking.
Yeah, that's 0%.
Yeah, that was not fun, I can tell you that. So, at the line, 3 to go. Harrison O'Brien still fighting. Santana's 2.5 back. Not sure if he's got the pace necessarily to close without the assistance of a fight, but I think a fight is basically guaranteed between these two, and out of the 14 that started, 11 are left running, and Neil Alexander is 2 laps down, 10 left on the lead lap. The Hungaroring is, I think, one of those tracks that's just not the most popular as we get Alexander back down to pit lane. Jinking back and forth, O'Brien and Harris, but don't necessarily think this is really a move. It's more about setting up into the next braking zone. This track, relatively unpopular. IndyCar Discord, iRacing IndyCar Discord, was also saying Circuit of the Americas is unpopular when it's a fantastic track, in my opinion, Joey. I don't know what you think about it.
I mean, it's a pretty great track in these open wheel cars as Austin Harris goes around and James O'Brien can't avoid him. And a good clunk of the Armco for good measure. I think both of them are good to continue, but both are going to be damaged. And how about a free top 5, Kevin Santana?
I'm pretty sure that was a self-spin as well.
It was.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because I didn't think there was contact. Austin Harris, we'll grab a replay in a second, but he's the one that loses the most out of that. O'Brien loses basically nothing in terms of positions, because he's still 6th where he was before the incident, albeit now behind Kevin Santana, and potentially has a car that will latch on to the back of him. RaceSpotTV replay machine does miss nothing, and that's an interesting one, to be honest.
Coming down the hill, the elevation change. He was already getting a little bit oopsie, and then he clipped the curb just a little bit. Just gave the car that littlest bit of unsettlement, and that was just going to send him around. And with James O'Brien trying to go around the outside, he couldn't really do anything there. He could have gotten the brakes and slammed into him, or he could have gone to the outside and gotten hit anyway. So poor old Potatoes O'Brien, he couldn't do anything else there.
I do like that James O'Brien was fighting. I mean, I found it. I really enjoyed that story that you were saying, right? Where O'Brien, first season in these cars, didn't qualify, ran at the back, found his rhythm, and now feels confident enough that he's going to push. Unfortunately, pushing onto pit lane, I can tell you right now. So he's clearly got more damage than I thought, and he's going to drop outside of, well, the top 5. He'll still likely grab 9th.
And James O'Brien will be back next season. There's still, with all those drivers moving up into F3 next season, there is a little bit of a vacuum in this IRO4 series. And I will mention once more that signups are open on the Precision Racing League forums for anybody interested in racing.
What's the website URL?
PrecisionRacingLeague.com/forum. Go over there. I'll put it in the chat as well. There are plenty of spots open in the IRO4 series. James O'Brien will be back. Vasconcelos will be back. Brandon Walter of Private Label Team Hype will be joining. Austin Harris will be back. A Bear, Precker. Everybody you know and love from this series, you can race against them too. And maybe with the power vacuum that's about to form with Moran and Kita moving up, you might be the next champion. It's possible.
Never be afraid of a good old URL. Just like if you want RaceSpotTV merchandise, including the wonderful Is Macked in This Split hoodie, also available in t-shirt form, or the expletive word We'll Do It Live t-shirt, also available in hoodie format. Go to armor.gg/collections/RaceSpot. If you come to the RaceSpotTV Discord, I promise you I will give you the discount code. We're on to the final lap of the race, on to the final lap of the season, and it is our champion-elect at the very front of the field that has dominated this one. They tangled behind on lap number one, and after putting it on pole position, it is Moran that looks ready to grab the fastest lap on his way to the championship.
This will be another driver winning their first championship in the PRL. It's been the case for many drivers this week. We saw Elliott White get his first championship on Tuesday. Blake Ziti followed him in the AM class. Then last night, Reese Bogue probably won his first championship. It's a little bit like counting votes. It takes a while. It takes until Friday. We got to wait for the penalty reviews to go in of the PRL to see if Reese Bogue is actually going to win the championship. I think he is. All the math lines up, so he should be fine. Andrew Moran, though, there's no arguing for him. He's got no penalties. He's got nothing to worry about. He's got a big gap, and he's going to extend the track limits anyway because he's got a few X's to play with.
I guess, unfortunately, no risk of disqualification. Fingers crossed.
Just stunting the rest of the field. Get every single off track in one lap because it's not going to do anything.
I mean, I believe in the commentator's curse. Unfortunately, Andrew Moran is trying to dispel that belief. What a season it has been, though. He's on his way to his 5th win in 10 races. 8 top 10s, only 1 DNF. He has been Mr. Consistent. He is now the champion of the Precision Racing League Formula 4 Series. Take a bow, Andrew Moran, your race winner to bow out in 2023 Season 1. Our champion across the line will grab Jake Vasconcelos to grab a very impressive 2nd place finish as well. And don't forget that, of course, Takeshi Kita grabs the podium in front of Michael Dowden after the damage repaired, but all eyes will be focused on Andrew Moran after a fantastic season here, Joey, in this Formula 4 machine.
There's so many ups and downs for so many drivers, but there was nobody who could win this championship at the end of it all other than Andrew Moran. It's going to be very interesting next season without him. It's going to be both interesting seeing him take on the F3 series, like Hamilton to Capoeasy did, graduating up into that series. And it is going to be very interesting to see who fills the vacuum in this series next season. Could it be a James O'Brien championship, or could it be somebody else who we haven't seen yet?
Still got to wait till Drew DeWeese crosses the line before we'll finish things up here. And then, of course, hopefully grab a quick chat with the very least Andrew Moran, Vasconcelos, and Kita before we switch our way on over to what is bound to be an exciting championship finale for the Formula 3 series as those drivers head their way over to Watkins Glen. And championship for the pros, not on the line, still very interesting. Team championship, it's all to play for. It's coming up next. Don't go anywhere here on RaceSpotTV. DeWeese winding his way through the final corner, and as Joey did mention, don't forget that sign-ups are open for the Precision Racing League. Joey, hit them with the URL once more.
PrecisionRacingLeague.com/forum. You can find everything you want there. You can find the Discord server as well. Go do it. Join us. We have a lot of fun here.
Plenty of action Sunday through Thursdays, and of course, we'll be talking about adding potentially some IMSA competition as well, so who knows how many days of the week the poor PRL admins are going to be working to try and keep things on.
8 days a week.
Oh, we're going to have to get the rights for that, I think. That's the next step here on RaceSpotTV. Here's a look at our race results, though. Andrew Moran, perfect way to sign off in this Formula 4 series as he grabs another win, a perfect event as well. Pole position, fastest lap, leading every lap of the race, basically, in terms of strategy. Fantastic performance from him. Vasconcelos, Keita Dowden, Santana will complete the top 5 with Barry Cochrane, Austin Harris, Drew DeWeese, James O'Brien, and then Neil Alexander rounding out our top 10. Those final 2 drivers scored as 2 laps down. Only 14 started. Tyler Gore, 3rd, 3 laps down. David Herbert, 4 laps down. And then Michael Blaise and Joseph Homan not classified as finishers here tonight. They round out our field of 14 to close the books on the season. They are having a bit of a postseason burnout now. One of our championship hopefuls, but Andrew Moran is standing by in victory lane, and Joey Tedman is ready to catch up with him.
Indeed I am. Andrew Moran, 50% of the race wins this season, a win to finish off the season, and the 2023 Season 1 champion in the IRO4s. How does that feel?
It's awesome. That's exactly the goal, and I'm pretty proud of myself for being able to do it.
It's F3 next season. I've seen you signed up on the list for that series next season. You're moving on up. What are your goals for next season as the defending champion down here?
Just to try and put together some good races and good points finishes. Not really looking like to fight at the front, but just trying to kind of feel the car out, feel the season out, and maybe the following. But just trying to have a good season next season.
Well, Andrew, congratulations on the championship. Congratulations on one of your most dominant runs of the season. And we will see you a little bit later on Thursday nights next season.
Yep. Thank you very much. See you next season.
Andrew Moran, your champion of the IRO4 series. Absolutely dominant. But coming home second, it's a driver who could be a champion next season. Jake Vasconcelos will be back with us next season, but you've certainly gone out in style here at the Hungaroring with second place.
Yeah, I'll take it. Just downloaded the track like 2 days ago.
So how was that fight with Takeshi Kita? That was potentially the most exciting thing of the race with you and Takeshi battling it out for second. What was that like from your perspective?
Yeah, it was intense. You know, he's close with points with Moran, so I was trying not to ruin his race. This was more between them than anything. But yeah, that was fun.
I did see you'll be back with us in the IRO4s next season. You're definitely going to take the position as one of the championship hopefuls with your performance this season. What are your goals in 3 weeks' time?
Yeah, top 3, maybe even a win or 2. But yeah, this is definitely success for the first league.
Success indeed. Congrats on second place tonight, Jake. We'll see you as well in 3 weeks' time.
Thanks.
Jake Vasconcelos joining the Kevin Santana group of interviewers here, but we got one more guy to talk to, and it's who else but my good old teammate. It's Takeshi Kita. The season's over. Seemed like it was a tough time at the Hungaroring, though.
Yeah, well, it was a tough race. I had a contact on the first lap, and had a lot of tracks, so I had a lot of incident points. So I have to be careful on the last half of the race.
This place is always very tough on those incident points, but I see you're moving up to the F3 series next season. You're going back home with Atomic Racing. What's the reason behind the decision there? Why are you moving back up?
Well, it's mainly because of the time zone change. I think in this month, my country and the US changed the time zone, so now the F3 is the one that suits better.
I personally look forward to seeing you back in that series. Takeshi, congratulations on the run to second in the championship this season. Good luck next season in F3.
Thank you.
Takeshi Kita. That rounds out the top 3 at the Hungaroring this week. A very exciting way to end the season, I think I can say. It was a dominant win for Andrew Moran, but everybody else certainly decided to put on a show. We had thrills, we had spills, we had a couple of goulash references, and what better way to end 10 weeks of IRO4 action?
Yep. Fun schedule. And of course, once again, PrecisionRacingLeague.com. Don't forget that sign-ups are open for all Precision Racing League series, although I get the sense that there are a handful which are very much beyond capacity, and so the best you can do is throw yourself onto the waiting list. So don't forget to do that as soon as you can, because the new season will be upon us before you know it. The brand new Renault Clio that, of course, is joining the iRacing circus is going to be featured on Monday nights. Plenty of activity for you to be excited about. One series says goodbye, though, for now. Another one says it's ready to say hello for the time being. We head over to upstate New York as the drivers of the Precision Racing League Formula 3 series now get their spotlight in the sun. It's time for them to rock and roll with no chicane to disturb them. It's going to be full blast up the hill and into the carousel, where they'll battle down into the boot and hope to come out on top. Yes, one championship is decided, but the AM Championship as well as the Team Championship still have plenty to play for. This Formula 3 car, of course, also features open setup, so drivers have the opportunity to figure it out a little bit more, and we've really had the full gamut of challenges in terms of mechanical balance. Tight, twisty tracks, especially the ones like Long Beach and Rudskogen, but then Grand Prix layouts, the likes of the Circuit of the Americas, the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, or the Red Bull Ring, much like tonight at Watkins Glen, Joey.
That's always the thing about these F3 calendars. They're so diverse. Sometimes you roll some bad luck and you end up with Zolder on the calendar, and then you hate that because that's never a fun time. Rudskogen, I love that track. That was one of the more difficult races this season, even though it was very exciting with that battle with Sean Campbell and Andrew Waring. That's a very tight and twisty place, though. Motegi, that was a great time. That was a very unique track that we don't actually see run often, the road course at Motegi. But I am very, very happy that we're ending the season at Watkins Glen. The classic layout specifically. The bus stop is fine. It does the job. It's a passing zone. But it's always far more exciting when you can take all that speed you've taken up the S's down the back straight and just go flat out into the carousel.
Not sure if I can take the Zolder slander. I will agree it's not the best track in the world, but I don't know what it did to you, Joey, to deserve that level.
It's pretty bad. That's the only PRL race I've quit before it was over.
Wow.
I was having such a bad time.
There we go. Now we know what it did to Joey. Here's a look at the Pro Drivers' Championship. Now, of course, we split the drivers into Pro and Am. It's a great way for drivers from that Formula 4 series to step up into this Formula 3 series, have their own championship to run in, but they can see their speed alongside with these pros. Michael Coffray, though, with a 51-point advantage, has the championship locked in. He's had just the one win along the way, but 7 top 5s, 4 pole positions, and again, it's all about consistency if you want to grab championships, Joey.
And for Michael Coffray, and Sebastian Coffray for that matter, consistency had not been their strong suits in past season, but with Wave Italy Racing this season, they have been the most consistent drivers in the field, while the likes of Andrew Waring, who we previously knew as great consistent drivers, have been a little bit off kilter this season. There's been mistakes from him and from his teammate Hamilton Akabuizi and from Kevin Sandiego, while the Coffrays have picked up the pieces.
It's been a fun one, that's for sure. And while this championship is done and dusted, plenty of drivers like Kevin Sandiego, Max Preston, Andrew Waring, and even Sebastian Coffray with that Aussie Milwain all fighting for their own. Don't count out Robert Ridgway as well. AM Championship, though, is one that I think I'm particularly excited about, because it's been about the fight back from Alexander Rivera, a driver that in this back half of the championship we've seen running at the very top half of the field. He's been taking out tens of points in a season where for the very first time AMs do not score points based on class position, they score points based on overall position. Championship margin has been brought down to just 5 points to his teammate John Quinn in that rookie esports battle at the very front. Brad Miller still in mathematical contention as well, but surely momentum on the side of Rivera at a track like this where he's going to be able to draft. He's currently the fastest of the AMs in qualifying. It's all for him to do.
And what's very interesting about that battle is John Quinn, the Mighty Quinn, and Alex Rivera are teammates. They run identical liveries. It's impossible to tell them apart on track. But as Arjuna said, Alex Rivera has had the momentum. He has had the better finishes of the two. He's just been the less consistent of the two. He's had one extra DNF. He missed the first round of the season, which really hurt him. But it's a teammate battle for rookie esports with Modern Racing Prince. And hopefully they're not running next to each other on track, because I won't be able to tell who's who.
Let's grab a look at your team championships then, and boy, 1 point splits Wave Italy Racing Team and Evolve Sim Sports. Interesting championship complexion here because Wave Italy Racing Team a two-man affair with the Crow Frays. Evolve Sim Sports do have 3 drivers, albeit with the fact that unfortunately Joey Haynes has maybe not always been up at the front, at least this season. It comes down to this one race though between the two of them, Joey.
And with the 2 Evolve squads here, it's hard to separate them sometimes, but Evolve Formula 3 is Hamilton Akabawizi, Kevin Hill, and Max Preston, while Evolve Sim Sports is Andrew Waring, Ozzy Milwane, and Joey Haynes, who Arjuna slandered. He's doing disrespect to the Joey name here.
Especially when I just look at the timing screens and I take a look at what's going on in qualifying. I tell you what, sorry, Joey, I will retract all Joey slander here today, because with about 10 minutes on the dot left in this qualifying session, it is the one, the only Joey Haynes, that number 33 machine, with the 1:36.688. 200s quicker than the next driver behind. Don't forget RaceSpotTV/timing. You can follow along with this session. And once again, you just look at that left side of the screen, and some of these margins, Joey, are so small.
And at a place like Watkins Glen, when we don't have the bus stop to deal with, you need teammates to help you out here. You need a draft if you want to put it on pole here. And Joey Haynes, I can guarantee you, he probably got some help from his Evolve teammates there. He's making history, because when I got my 2 poles in quotation marks in the PRL, they were in the AM class. I wasn't on actual pole. I was deeper in the field. So Joey Haynes could be the first Joey to start on actual pole in the PRL.
Alexander Rivera, we jump on board with the AM Championship contender. I think he's tucked up behind his teammate, John Quinn. Now you can see left side, Quinn is 12th overall, first in class. Miller is up in second in class, 1 spot behind Rivera on the overall combined standings, and the margin between them 0.03 of a second. Then a bit of a gap. John Quinn is all the way down in 22nd spot. He is going to need a little bit of help from his teammate, but at least for now, operating in the other direction.
Yeah, hopefully they'll switch around after this lap, because John Quinn, the mighty Quinn, he can't show off his might if he's just helping out his teammate who's already on pole in class. But this is definitely an orchestrated effort between the 2 rookie esports modern racing Prince drivers. It's a team name that keeps extending and extending and extending with every season, but they'll switch around next time around, I think.
So, a handful of cars resetting to the pit lane and grabbing a fresh set of boots for the run. Coffray, that is Sebastian Coffray, up in second, diving his way down into the boot. You can really see how much they flirt with the grass on the outside. Not going to be totally shocked when we see maybe a car or 2 go a little too wide, rake on the grass, spin around, and cause a little bit of drama. And again, in this series, Joey, pit stops are expected, and this is a pit entry that is not tricky by any means, but the pit entry line is basically also the racing line, because it's out of the final corner on the very inside. It is it's not the easiest to communicate to the rest of your drivers that you're the one coming down to pit lane.
Hey, you better get on the radio and tell people, I'm coming in this lap, please be aware, give me a little bit of a wide berth here, because I've experienced myself too many times, especially a couple of weeks ago when we came here in a certain official series. It's very easy to get murdered by the car behind coming into the pits out of the final corner at Watkins Glen. Here comes Sebastian Coffray. No real draft help for him, but he does improve, and he's put it on pole.
Shows that you don't always need draft to be able to find some speed. What can Haynes do to respond? Now he has still got plenty of the lap left to go. Where's Andrew Waring? Don't necessarily think Haynes is tracking that decently on this lap, so maybe opportunity for Andrew Waring to work his way up. Robert Ridgway slides his way up to 7th. And again, those are intervals on the left side of your screen. 3,000 separates Michael Coffray from Waring. Juan Coffray technically 10 thousandths further back. Robert Ridgway, again, 10,000 separates him from Kevin San Diego. 1,000 separates Cody Grams from Julio Palacio. I mean, we're in for a treat if this is anything to go by. No bus stops, just going to add to that. I've actually commentated on the Porsche qualifying series race here, which ran with no chicane, Joey, but then also no boot. And as Andrew Waring dives down to the pit lane, my God, it was terrifying.
And we ran in this exact layout of Watkins Glen, how many seasons ago was this now? Like 3 or 4 seasons ago, because I was in the field. And it is a great track. It was a fantastic battle at the front of that field because it's a cliche to say, but it is essentially road course pack racing. It gets broken up a little bit in the boot, but with such a long straight, such a long unbroken straight, it's going to be a little bit like if you go to Monza, for example, where you are all in that line, you're all in that draft forever, and you gotta work win the pack.
It's one of those races as well where you have to think about it slightly differently, right? Because you're planning where you want to be in the draft, how you want to work with others. You said you want teammate help. How do you get them forward with you? We saw that in the VCO Esports Racing World Cup. Diogo Pinto, great example of that, as he worked with his teammates to slingshot them to the front of the field in what was effectively a 3v3, one team versus another, and so easy to bully your way forward. Michael Kofre slides his way up, though, to third. I think that's likely him done with this run, and we'll see him return to pit lane and likely try again. He'll get enough time to go for another lap. Julio Palacio, the 194. Next out of the final corner in the Speedworks Racing Team Esports 194. Finding the flagman gets a great view, as Palacio does not improve.
I think Julio might have got a great view of the wall out of the final corner. I don't know if there was contact, but it was as close as you can possibly get. So no improvement for him. Cody Grams crosses the line. No improvement for him either. That's a driver who we think what might have been, because Cody Grams has won races this season. He's one of the fastest drivers in the series, but his schedule just doesn't allow him to race full-time in this series. If he was a full-time driver, he'd be fighting for the championship, so hopefully next season on Thursdays, Cody Grams can actually make all 10 weeks.
He's legitimately missed half the races this season. Did not start in 5.
And he's still in the top 10 in the points.
It's remarkable. It really is. Goes to show that. Some cars in the pro class. It's a big pro class. Only 10 AMs in a field of 31. Justin Negret in that 26. Does not find any improvement. Might have plenty of work to do. 26th on the overall pylon right now. Still a long, long way to go, though, in terms of the racing itself. But Sebastian Kofre from Joey Haynes and Michael Kofre. Of course, we've already talked about teammate help. Wave Italy Racing Team looking to put themselves up at the front and trying to potentially, on that run down into turn number 1, take Joey Haynes out of contention.
That is possible, but Joey Haynes has a teammate behind him as well, and Andrew Waring. So it's going to be a little bit like tandem drafting at Talladega coming down the Watkins Glen Straight between Wave Italy and Evolve Sim Sports. It's a little bit of a melange of teams here. There's one, I believe that's Mr. Gonzalez up ahead, who's holding up this train a little bit, and Max Preston is stealing a little bit of draft from his teammate Joey Haynes. Actually, that's Hamilton Akabuizi, who really needs to do quite a bit of work, because Hamilton Akabuizi is in a very non-Hamilton Akabuizi place. He's 19th on the grid.
Cody Grams is up to 6th position as Juan Kofre wiggles on his way down into that corner where you can run all the way off the track, but I don't always know, depending on what car it is, if it is the wisest choice. You rise up and rejoin that oval configuration, effectively, of Watkins Glen. Penultimate corner, it's all about being brave, and in these cars, downforce so strong, qualifying trim, it's definitely foot to the floor, and then how daring do you want to get in terms of running yourself to the wall? No improvement out of Juan Kofre. 2 minutes left to go. Drivers getting ready to start what will be their final laps in qualifying.
Big improvement for James Molaire there, up into the top 12. But Andrew Waring has no help. His teammates are too busy helping each other out. And Waring, with that number 1 car, he's the loneliest Evolve driver in the world here. His mom Tracy's cheering him on in the chat, as she always is on Thursday nights, rather. And we'll see if he can pick up any time here. We saw Kofre put it on pole with no draft help. Comes Waring out of the final corner, doesn't clip the grass, doesn't go all the way to the left, and then the most difficult final corner. It's just high commitment, high speed. Here he comes. Is there any improvement? No.
In fact, considerably slower. We'll get one more opportunity if he really wants to go. Let's grab a look at those weather conditions. It's a scorcher, relatively. That's a big wiggle out of turn number 1 there. By no means is this easy for the tires, especially given the load that they have to bear through some of the various sections on the track. A handful of drivers have called it quits, including Waring in this qualifying session. Michael Kofre, is this likely going to be his final attempt in this qualifying session? Can he add to the 4 poles? Doesn't look like it. He'll get one more chance, though.
One more time for him. Looks like about half the field is already back in the pits. John Quinn, the mighty Quinn, has ended his run, so if he got any help from his teammate, it has not done anything for him. But here's the Evolve organization here. Hamilton to Kabuizi leading, trying to give Joey Haynes a little bit of a draft. Doesn't work, though. Joey Haynes 2 seconds off the pace as Hamilton to Kabuizi improves, again, up into the top 12.
I wonder if they're doing tandem slingshot, so now is Haynes going to get the mega run up the hill? I mean, that's the only thing I can kind of assume right now. Time's about to expire, though. The lap that you're on will count. Rivera in the AM Championship equation does have the lead. I'm surprised that Kabuizi got out of the way so early. Surely it would have been optimal to try and draft Haynes and really throw him into this corner with about as much speed as possible. But it's not going to matter. Joey Haynes bails. Pressure now on Kofre as he heads into the final sector.
See if he's improving at all. He's playing with fire on the outside there. It's so easy to clip the grass there. It's easy to clip the grass when you run that wide out of the heel of the boot as well. And then up over the crest of the hill here. This is probably the most difficult corner on the track. Trying to sight your apex. It's a blind corner. It's an uphill corner. It's flat out through the second to last corner. Can't go too far wide, but the car has so much downforce that you're not going to want to do that. Then throw it through the final corner, just like I almost threw my mic across the room there as Michael Kofre brings it to the line.
Checkered flag in hand, no improvement. It will be Sebastian Kofre. First pole position of the season for the Wave Italy Racing team, as now we have a bit of a teammate affair inside of the front 2 rows. Sets up what is a tantalizing fight in that team championship that's of course only split by the 1 point. Wave Italy Racing team versus Evolve SimSport AM Championship equation sees Alexander Rivera 14th overall with Brad Miller behind him. And then John Quinn, championship leader, down in 22nd overall. Do like this points change, by the way, Joey, where you score points based on overall position rather than your class position. It encourages the AMs to fight a little bit more with those pros.
I'm always happy to see that. I always love to see some drivers in the AM class showing their skill and potentially showing up some of the pros, as Rivera and Quinn have done so many times this season. And it makes the championship interesting as well. It means it's never really wrapped up. There's always chances for these AMs to make up more points.
Don't forget, this is an open setup series in contrast to the fixed setup Formula 4s that we had earlier on tonight here on RaceSpotTV. Qualifying officially now is in the books. We are almost ready to go racing for the final time of this season. Formula 3 drivers have put on a show, and while Michael Kofre is now your champion, it's all about settling the score in the AM Championship equation, where Alexander Rivera's form in the last 5 weeks has brought him back into the mix. And then in the team championships, where the Kofres will go up against Evolve SimSport, Waring, Haynes, qualified on the outside of the front row together. It's going to be fun trying to see them work their way on through. Qualifying is done and dusted. Let's walk you down how they're going to line up here at Watkins Glen, with pack racing expected to be the norm. Sebastian Kofre with a 136.647 gets to the point of the field. He'll lead us to the green with the standing start. Joey Haynes alongside Michael Kofre and Andrew Waring, making the team battle look interesting in the front 2 rows. Juan Kofre and Cody Grames, 5th and 6th positions, while on row 4 it's Max Shabley and Julio Palacio. Kevin San Diego and Robert Ridgway line up 9th and 10th positions, with Ozzie Milwane and Hamilton and Kabuizi bookending the top 12 positions. James Moller and then Alexander Rivera, the first of the AMs. Interesting AM Championship equation, of course, to consider, with Miller, Broomhead, Vargas, and Larkamp through the top 18, with Miles, Hardman, Kofre, John Quinn, and then Brett Thurman and Stephen Rithers through the first 12 rows. Negrete, Daly, Duhamel, Carter, Swindell, and Courtney are top 30, with Peterson, our final car, in the grid. We wait for the rest of the cars to take to the line, and Joey, we get ready to see the Formula 3 cars go racing here at Watkins Glen.
I could not be more excited for this. The amount we've been hyping up the racing at this track is not an exaggeration. It is going to be an all-out war coming up the hill after you've figured everything out in turn 1, there's nothing you can do. There's no way to break up the field. The entire field will be spitting themselves right into the carousel at the highest speed until on lap 1.
Draft's going to be important as well, positioning yourself. How much of a sitting duck is Sebastian Coffret going to be? This is where, of course, drivers can control their fate a little bit with how much downforce they're going to throw on the car, Joey.
That is a difficult decision to make here. There's a very, very long straight line at Watkins Glen. It's a high-speed track, but there is the boot as well. You need downforce for that.
For the final time this season, the drivers of the Precision Racing League Formula 3 Series are ready to go. It's Coffret and Haynes on the front row of the grid. Great start from some of those further back behind, already making it 3 and 4 wide, but from pole position, Coffret leads them down the hill with championship-elect Michael Coffret challenging Haynes through turn number 1, but they get on the power, they start to climb their way up through the S's and towards the outer loop. Sebastian Coffret already 1 second clear of those behind as his teammate in the Wave Italy Racing Machine makes it a 1 and 2, but now they build their momentum and they storm their way to the outer loop. Who will hold on?
And this is great help from Michael Coffret here. He battled with Waring side by side into turn 1. That allowed Sebastian to pull away as here we go into the carousel. They were almost 3 wide, smartly backed out of that. But this is high-speed stuff. This is the highest speed you can go on lap 1. I think that was Max Shabley almost getting into the wall off the carousel.
You really can push it through that corner, though, as well, which is why we see the drivers take the risk. Down the hill, though, as we enter the boot section, 1 second the margin at the front. Coffret trying to help his teammate extend the advantage by diving on Waring as they work their way through the uphill right-hand sweeping hairpin. Plenty of side-by-side further behind. You can see them juking their way down the straightaway. Palacio on the defensive as Moller, Shabley, Milwain all involved in that little tussle. It's ended badly for Moller, but outside of that, as we get ready to complete lap number 1, Joey, no drama at the start of this race.
No drama yet, though, but we've resolved things for a moment. We haven't resolved the train, though. There is still a train going all the way back from second place to basically dead last. And now Andrew Waring's job in second place is to make sure Michael Coffret can't fight with him and make sure he can try and bring down that gap on his own, because he doesn't have the draft. He's out of that 1 second range. He's just barely within it now coming into turn 1. Waring needs to do some good lap times of his own here.
It is going to mean, of course, that Waring is not going to be able to save much fuel for these next couple of laps as he tries to close the gap. Here's it. A look at the replay. Moller on the outside of the 2 wide, 2 deep, and a little bit of contact. Locks it up. Waits for the right moment to rejoin. Lovely to see.
Was almost the wrong moment for a second there, but good thinking by him as here comes Michael Coffret. This is exactly what Andrew Waring didn't need. Coffret passes Waring again, and Michael Coffret is interested in his own right in bringing the gap down to Sebastian. He wants to win the race himself, but Andrew Waring's got to think here. Do I continue to fight with Michael? Do I go for the pass again? Or do I just ride behind here and hope that Michael has the speed?
So in terms of qualifying, Wave Italy Racing Team likely gain a couple of points in the championship equation. But, I mean, it's pretty simple. If Wave Italy finish 1 and 2, they win the team championship. It is as simple as that. What has happened to Alexander Rivera, by the way, because he's down in 18th position. He's going to see Larkamp feint his way to the inside and try and slide his way through. I think he's going to be more compromised by the fact that Steven Ritters is now slotting into line behind Manuel Vargas, but Rivera's lost a bunch of ground. Miller's worked his way forward to 13th overall, and remember, AMS score points based on overall position rather than class position.
Luckily for Rivera, though, it was a pretty bad start for his teammate John Quinn, the Mighty Quinn, as well. Both rookie esports MRP drivers losing a ton of spots in the start, and that might bring in the third guy who we haven't really talked about. Brad Miller is only 8 points behind John Quinn in the championship. He's as much in contention as either of the other two. I don't know if he's scoring enough points right now to win it, but he very well might be.
Yeah, I don't think right now. The problem is Quinn is basically scoring as close to 0 points as possible today, so he's not in the ideal situation there. A bit of Noah's Ark down the back straightaway with a couple of cars going all the way to the inside as they try and cover off some potential moves. Cody Graham's in front now of Joey Haynes, so for the Evolve SimSport team, Haynes sliding backwards in the field relative. Meanwhile, where is Hamilton and Carboeasy? Well, he's fighting in 10th position with Shabley and Ridgway locked in behind him.
A little bit of an atomic racing civil war here with Robert Ridgway and Max Shabley. Brian Miles as well for Atomic Monkey Butt coming up onto the scene as well. All these Atomic drivers have managed to survive lap 1, but once again, you've got to think about your strategy as teammates. Robert Ridgway right now is, I think, communicating with Max Shabley in the Atomic Racing Discord. I can actually check that right now, and yes, he is. They're talking to each other. They're working out a strategy here. And if Max Shabley is the faster of the two, which he was in qualifying, you'll see Robert be a good little teammate here and just hang back and let Max do the work.
That is damage, right? I'm not wrong.
It looks like it.
It's always fun breaking out the yellow Pental. A little bit of damage.
Shabley has the same damage.
Well, I was about to say, let's scroll our way up through the field and see how we're doing
Caboeasy has the same damage.
Yep, no, let's see. No damage here.
Oh.
Kevin Sandiego's looking good. Damage there, I think. No?
I think it's okay.
I think it could be reflections.
I think what happened is Robert Ridgway, in his day job, he works at a particle accelerator. I think one of them might have got free and it might have scraped him up.
I see. Don't forget RaceSpot.tv/timing to follow along for today. Shabley gets in front of Caboeasy behind, but on board with Milway, just look at the power of the draft as Palacio sails past Joey Haynes. Haynes sliding backwards, though. I just wonder if he is maybe nursing more damage than we even realize.
It's entirely possible, and if you at home are wondering, bop, hoot and boo-bay doo bop, where in the world is Kevin Sandiego? He's coming back into this battle. He was within this fight. He almost sent it 3 wide into the carousel with Milway and Haynes, kind of backed himself out for self-preservation, but you can never count Kevin Sandiego out. He's a little bit lower than he would like. He's been competitive for wins this season, but this is a guy you can never count out. He's always very aggressive when he needs to be.
You saw that I was trying to make the joke before, didn't you?
I had to do it. I haven't been here for so many weeks. Kevin's been missing it, I'm sure.
My teammate was listening on Tuesday and was I don't know if impressed was the right word, but maybe felt a little bit for Waldo Walden at my "Where's Waldo" joke. So
yeah, but he's lived up to it because he's made his NASCAR paint scheme the actual "Where's Waldo" design. But Kevin Sandiego, I don't know. Maybe next season we'll start to see some 1990s public access game show design on that Dark Horse Esports car, but I don't know.
I'm just saying we've been able to convince SimCity Racing to slightly modify their liveries. We'll go 2 for 2. I'm pretty confident. Gap at the front, speaking of twos, is about 2 seconds for Sebastian Coffre over Michael Coffre. Waring's going to jump back out. Juan Coffre is going to try and slide his way on through as well, but ducking and diving, great to watch. Not necessarily great on the clock. Waring will get on through. Michael Coffre back down the inside. Move covered off there, but suboptimal, to quote Sir Lewis McGlade, as Milway and Palacio swap their ways around as well. If you're going to swap draft, it's one thing, but fighting is a totally different thing.
First, Lewis McGlade wins a Nobel Prize for the McGlade Rule of 6, and now he's a Sir. It keeps getting better for that guy. It keeps getting better, but
I've got to try and butter him up because, boy, is he a nasty little guy.
This is exactly what we talked about at the Hungaroring. You want to see this battling up front, but you want to see it actually be at the front. You don't want to see these two guys battling with everything they've got for second. Waring and Coffre, the two biggest rivals of this series, the two titans who have won the most races this season. When they're too busy fighting for second, they can't seem to resolve things, and Sebastian Coffre just breaks the draft more and more and more. There's nothing either of these guys can really do, because they're not interested in not fighting with each other. They're fighting for the team's championship.
We know you like a good old song, Joey, but do you play any musical instruments?
I did 1 semester of intro to piano, and I don't remember a single piece.
So you're the official keyboardist of the iRacing IndyCar Community Noise Generation Society. I think that's our official title. We're going to get Brendan Lichtenberg on bass, and then I'll play guitar. That's our plan. So we'll get you to sing and play keyboards. I think that... There we go, done and dusted, and we'll write the theme song for the Precision Racing League. How about that? Andrew Waring not only has Michael Coffre passed, but now Juan Coffre trying to slide his way on through. The Evolve Simsport #1 holds on for now.
Speaking of the iRacing IndyCar community, you know who I just saw who signed up yesterday for the F3 Series next season? It's who else but private label team Hype's Connor Harrington, who will be joining the fray in this series next season on Thursday nights.
Interesting. Someone we are more used to seeing in another Dallara machine. Really closing up is Cody Grams, but just bouncing off the rev limiter, not really wanting to put too much pressure on just yet. Once again, what are track limits? You tell me. Maybe a bit of an issue further back down the field as Brad Miller, of course, was the lead AM driver, but now behind Stephen Ritters, but also behind Michael Broomhead, promoted to 14th. And of course, championship equation swings with each of these positions.
Championship implications, they're always around, and I think Brad Miller was 5 spots ahead of Rivera, or he was more than 3 spots ahead of Rivera, which is what he needs to be to win the championship over him. And he's also 8 spots above John Quinn. He was 12 spots above John Quinn, so he's just put himself out of contention with that mistake. But where he was, Brad Miller could be the upset. He could steal this championship, but let's see what happened to him to take him out of it. Actually, first is Justin Negretti.
Yep. And
panic.
Yep, lazy half spin after the fact, and unfortunately, I think that's going to be him done for the season. Battle up front sees them continue to go back and forth. Kofre holds on with Waring, Juan Kofre, and then Cody Grams cycling on behind. Man, I love myself a good a close championship in the final race of the season, especially when it's hard for us to figure out what exactly is actually going on.
Yeah, I'm just glad there's no penalty reviews that are gonna decide this, because as I said, the NASCAR championships we decided last night, they still haven't officially been decided. We still need to wait for points reviews. We need to see if Elliott White jumped the start to see if he actually wins the championship. But it's all pretty easy here. It's going to come down to positions as Cody Grams gets aggressive on Juan Kofre coming into the heel of the boot. That'll be 4th for him.
Yeah, Kofre's been half shaping up to try and work his way on forward, but now has got to do it first to the 575, get that position back. Gap holding relatively stable for the time being at the front, about 2.3 seconds here and there every lap or two. By no means is this a major swing, at least just yet. Of course, don't forget, we've already talked about the treachery of potentially coming down onto the pit lane entry here. I don't think this is one of those tracks where you necessarily want to try and attempt an undercut. And of course, a much bigger field in this race than we have with the Formula 4 series. So it's not the longest pit lane, but you're not in danger right now of coming out directly behind anybody. But it's one of those tracks where I think you're going to worry a little bit more. Andrew Waring, I think, trying not to fight with Michael Kofre because they want to try and break away from these two. 4th and 5th, who swap back and forth once again.
I didn't really expect Juan Kofre to be able to fight back there. It looked like he was floundering for a little bit. And Michael Kofre as well in the lead tandem of these two. He is the leader of the pack right now. He is the leader of the tandem, but he isn't bringing the gap down to his teammate. He just made a mistake there into the toe of the boot and lost a little bit more time. He's got a little bit of a trend forward now. He was about half a tenth faster on that last lap, so he's slightly faster, but it's not fast enough. And Andrew Waring is just desperately hoping he can pick up the pace.
Winding their way back up. That's one of those corners where I've seen so many drivers just run themselves off the track by that little bit too much. Fortunately, not such an issue so far. In fact, 31 started, only 2 seem to have retired. See if, knock on wood, that holds for the time being. I'm trying to figure out, Joey, what else I want to come in this new iRacing build. Of course, there's these rumors here and there about this GTP, that LMDH, this, that, the other, but don't really know what I want at this point. I'm looking forward to whatever they give us.
That's usually how I am. They're always doing something crazy that you don't expect. iRacing is always coming out with the surprises. But outside of iRacing, I had an idea earlier today. I refrained from messaging PRL head honcho Jerome Bertiome like 5 minutes before the broadcast when this idea popped into my head. But I think after all of these championship finales are done in PRL Championship Finale Week, there should be a race of champions of sorts. We should take the top 5 from every PRL championship, NASCAR, roadside, everything, all 9 of them. And we have a field with all the top drivers in the PRL, and we kick everything off there. Street stocks, whatever.
I like the sound of that. Go figure 8 or something. You gotta do unique things.
Yeah, because you have to even out the skill somehow. Not that the road drivers are less skilled on the ovals necessarily, or the oval drivers are less skilled on the road courses necessarily. There's a lot of crossover in the PRL, but there are going to be some guys who are less experienced one way or another. So you got to even it out somehow.
It needs to be an all-star event where it's the 2 races. You have an oval and you have a road race.
3 races. Have one on a dirt race as well. Jumpy trucks.
Because there are no dirt series in the PRL just yet. James Miller, well, he's found some dirt. Apropos for our conversation. Not as intended. Cody Graham's back past Juan Cofre, but I think he's just now going to feed the draft back to the 276, who will slingshot his way back up at the top of the hill.
These guys have lost Michael Cofre and Waring. They've completely lost him. They're too busy fighting for 4th. But here's what happened to James Molaire. Too much speed over the top of the hill, and a huge drift, and a little bite out of the wall for a good measure. So it's not just dirt, it's also wall. James Molaire has not had a fun time at Watkins Glen, and that's unfortunate. It's rare you don't have a fun time at Watkins Glen.
Especially when you remove the boot. Down through the outer loop they go. Plenty of shake-ups up and down through the field as they race.
Cody Graham's clipped the grass there coming down the hill. That was scary.
Telling you, it's so easy to do. Less than 30 minutes left to go, by the way, so working our way towards a pit stop window here in this race. Probably about 20 minutes to go, although again, not sure if this is going to be laps limited or time limited. Only the clock will truly end up telling us, but it's really settled down. I think a lot of these drivers may be already thinking about pit stops here because you spent so much of this lap at full blast that you really do need to be mindful of that as Akabuizi gets up in front of Ridgway and Chablis.
It's not too Akabuizi, is it, even after a couple of weeks?
No, it has been a couple of weeks, to be fair.
He's got Robert Ridgway and Max Chablis behind him. It's Atomic versus the Evolve driver. I don't know what Hamilton's doing next season either. I hope he'll be back with the F3 series. He's done a great job. He started on pole in his first race of the season at Suzuka, and unfortunately, he's had a little bit of a trial by fire here after dominating the IR04 series. Nobody could touch him except Kevin Santana for a couple of weeks. He's suddenly come back to reality here with a very, very deep field. I hope he's back next season. I hope he'll still be competing on maybe the NASCAR side, which he dropped out of as well. Now that his some of his other commitments may be out of the question with other cars. So who knows what could happen in a Akabuizi land. He's still only 15, I think.
Oh, they're fighting for second. They're crashing for second. Michael Cofre's championship will still come, albeit now with a crash in the final race. It's involved with Andrew Waring. It's taken 2 championship contenders in that team championship equation out as well. And now as it potentially brought Evolve back into play, it will depend on where 2 of their drivers stack up against Sebastian Cofre by himself.
It comes down to the guy you slandered. Suddenly Joey Haynes has to be the hero here.
Yes, but where's the support? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because Waring has also taken a tow back to pit lane. It's Milwain up in 5th. So I guess the question is 5th and 7th better than 1st plus whatever the bonus in qualifying was?
Yes.
There you go.
I believe so. So I think with that accident, that does that should theoretically be enough for Evolve Sim Sports, but it does depend on whether there's more chaos, there's more drama. There's still 27 minutes left to go in this race, and more crazy things can happen.
Could Race Control say something about this as well?
I don't know, because this isn't the first time Waring and Cofre have come together. This has happened a couple of times over the last 2 seasons. So we have to check a replay of it, but
exactly.
it may have been a racing incident. These guys like to run into each other.
I was going to say, we need a replay, but I think we also need to consider that corner does also let you run wide, and then you've got to come back in. Maybe a bit of netcode there for being completely openly fair. Look from up above. I don't think Michael Cofre leaves racing room.
He didn't leave room, and Waring couldn't really go anywhere, but at that point, we'll have to look at it again. It's just such a difficult situation, and this happens quite often when these 2 guys race with each other. They're such massive rivals. They don't want to lose to each other. That of course they're not going to leave much room. There is a car length there, but I go full racing incident here. If it was the first time these guys had come together, I'd have a different opinion, but It's a running theme with these two.
So right on board. Yeah, racing incident. No, I think that's what I was trying to get at, to be fair. I just, yeah. Shame it ends like that, I guess.
Yeah, shame it ends like that. Sebastian Coffray's even more comfortable in the lead of this race, and the guy who could have been fighting with Sebastian Coffray and maybe picking up some of the pieces here and fighting for this win. I mentioned Sean Campbell told me last night that he would be in the field because it's Watkins Glen without the bus stop, and you know who's not in the field? Sean Campbell. He lied to me.
Hashtag where's Sean? Not here. I think we're going to have to make sure that we all just go and tag him a bunch now somewhere so that he really knows how much we miss him.
Well, he's social media-less. I can't find him.
I know, just go and do it in Discord. Even better.
That's true. I can just annoy him like I usually do.
John Quinn onto pit lane. He had worked his way forward to 22nd overall, which would have been less than 8 positions behind Brad Miller, but not less than 5 positions behind Alexander Rivera, who I think currently has the championship in his favor.
Yes, right now Rivera has or will score enough points to beat John Quinn. He's currently 9 spots ahead of Quinn, and Brad Miller, who's just kind of in the fray here with Steven Larkamp as well. He needs to hope that Rivera gets into trouble. He almost did as he interlocks wheels with Larkamp for a moment. Yeah, Brad Miller needs to hope that Rivera gets into even more trouble.
And Rivera has had his fair share of trouble this season. I mean, 2 consecutive DNFs right as he was coming off his first round of the campaign. Started late, joined us in round 2. Started off really, really nicely when he was able to finish his first race after that. Still not so great, but it was round 7 and 8. Those 2 races in particular, Rutskogan as well as Twin Rin Motegi, where he qualified up inside, I think it was on the top 8 in both of those races and really hung in there at times as well. Last round, a little bit more grounded at the Red Bull Ring, if we're being fair, but at least left himself in play, which I think is the best that he could have hoped for, given that 1 DNS, 2 DNFs, and then 1 additional poor result. He's kept himself in the mix. Ritter's down to pit lane, but still a fun battle in this AM Championship.
Here it goes. Oh, almost contacted to turn 1 between Rivera and Miller. Is this about to be Coffray wearing part 2 here? Still no room being left for either of these guys, and if John Quinn is looking at his relative right now, he's probably getting pretty excited because this has been some all-out combat between these two, and they're about to battle each other at 180 miles per hour into the carousel here. Is it going to come to blows again this time?
Well, John Quinn's, I think, slightly hoping so, I guess. He's cycled back out by himself in clean air, I think what he wanted, and now we'll try and get the hammer down. As Michael Broomhead drops behind Max Shabali, highest of the AMs, now into 12th position, about 4 and a bit seconds clear of this trio as they duck their way down the hill once more. Vargas has really latched onto their draft as well. Probably about 12 minutes away from seeing everybody down to the pit lane here, Joey, but wouldn't be shocked if we do start to see a few more calls of people coming in early.
Well, I think there's a running theme in all those guys who came in early. John Quinn, of course, needs to do something alternate. He was many, many positions behind his teammate. He needed to do something crazy and go off strategy, so the mighty Quinn is going off strategy himself. Steven Ritters, and that is big trouble. Miller gets taken out. Rivera does as well.
I mean, hold your inputs. It is as simple as that. And now we've got carnage.
Oh, dear.
I mean, somehow 2 cars dived their way through that. Miraculous. Incredible stuff. But chaos, madness. Final race of the season, I guess.
So where's John Quinn? Where is John Quinn? Is he about to be on the scene here, coming up over the top of the boot? He's coming into the heel of the boot now. Both Miller and Rivera still need to pit. John Quinn's just taking the lead of the AM battle once these 2 come in. Here they come.
Yeah, no, it's basically done. We'll see them come in, and maybe we'll see them come in for a lengthy time as well. Pit lane going to be quite busy. Still 11 cars yet to pit. 1 AM, 10 pros. San Diego, Millwayne have also made their cycle down pit lane, rather. But my God. My goodness.
My golly goody gumdrops. It all happens in the last race of the season, doesn't it? Here it is.
I think
the initial spin at the head of the field.
Isn't it?
Yeah, Ryan Miles goes for a little bit of an oopsie of his own, tries to hold the brakes, but unfortunately there's a couple of drivers on the scene. Miles does nothing wrong, but it's Michael Broomhead who ends up backing up onto the racing surface and just killing our championship contenders.
Yeah, no, and again, great job by two machines to slingshot their way on through. But that shouldn't have been necessary, unfortunately. We'll grab another look at it. Yeah.
And that's it. That's Ryan Miles' teammate who ended up on the scene. So this poor old Max Shabley who had nowhere to go and just gets wiped out.
No,
but Shabley keeps it parked, and there goes Broomhead.
To be clear, Shabley's done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. We need to make sure that's clear. Broomhead then drives into Shabley, who is trying to turn around. Maybe not at the most opportune time. Broomhead then rear ends himself into the wall. Yeah, everyone else, by the way, now down to pit lane. Turns out it was just a lap later in what is a full throttle attack on the throttle, basically, here. Sebastian Coffre slides into the box as coolly as you'd like, 4.7 seconds, and rolls away, still in control of the race.
Palacio is going to win the race off pit lane in the secondary fight, but you can see that gap, 5.5 seconds up to Sebastian Coffre. It's well and truly going to be a fight for second here. But it's going to be a very interesting fight for second. Palacio, Coffre, and Grams are all within fighting distance of each other. And as they start to fight, that could very well bring Kevin Sandiego into the fight for second as well. He's about 1.5 seconds back behind this pack. He could join the fray here, but we ride on board with Alex Rivera and Brad Miller up ahead as both of their championships get erased.
Yeah, no, a race is a great way to describe it as well. Grams and Coffre side by side, but yeah, Connery Maddock gets triggered by the unsafe rejoins. Paul Smith is a track limits advocate, and I am the advocate for proper etiquette in multi-class racing. If you ever see an errant prototype, feel free to tag me at Arjuna Kankipati, because I have no reluctance to flame someone for causing multi-class traffic. Whether they are the slower or the faster class, I am an equal opportunist slanderer. Is that a word?
A couple more ers, and I think we'll get there.
Slanderer. There we go.
I think we went one over. I think we got to find a middle ground here. But this is a struggle for Cody Grams. He's actually losing ground to Julio Palacio on the outlap here, but he is also distancing himself from Juan Coffre. So it's a good situation for Cody Grams if he has the actual pace to bring down this gap to Julio Palacio. If he can stay in the draft, if he can bring that gap down himself, he will be able to keep this fight for second pretty lonesome. But the second they do start to go side by side, I think Juan Coffre is going to be brought into the battle, and Kevin Sandiego is desperately hoping that happens soon because the gap keeps expanding to him too.
Love the shot. You can also see the impact of the air. Hot air visibly spewing out of the exhaust. They go back, they go forth, they go into the outer loop, but with no swap arounds. Sebastian Coffre comfortably clear at the very front of the field. 5.8 seconds his margin to those behind him as a result of that. Okay, AM Championship. Let's see if there is anything to talk about here. John Quinn, where is he? 17th overall. Alexander Rivera, he's 22nd overall. Where's Brad Miller? He's in pit lane. Unfortunately, not much to talk about, as I think Cody Grams may have just given us something to talk about.
Oh no, Cody Grams. I was just hyping him up. I was hyping him up that he might be able to fight with Julio Palacio here, but in turn, he's actually become Kevin Sandiego's best friend because he's going to be a little bit of a rung on the Jacobs ladder. But we saw Cody Grams clip the grass coming down into the boot, and he's done it again, extending the track limits a little bit more on the exit of the boot, getting a little bit of oversteer and doing a little bit of rallycross. Speaking of rallycross,
it is one of those corners as well where, again, the outside welcomes you to try and push it as much as possible, but then it very severely cuts back on in, so it's suboptimal. It is. I've many a time made that mistake, and I'm sure I did
it last time the PRL ran here in these cars. That's where I made my mistake.
I have
one of them.
Yeah, I have no doubt I'll make many more. I mentioned that pit exit is dangerous here. In multi-class races, I will warn you, especially coming up to the iRacing Watkins Glen 6 hours, which will be the third of the VCO Grand Slams later this year. Pit exit is dangerous as well. I did the first 4 and a bit odd hours of the race back in the Corvette in the Daytona prototype days, back in the day. Perfect. Stellar stint. We were leading, led by a lap or two or something. Give it to my teammate, who was not necessarily feeling the most confident. I think you can tell where the story is going, Joey. He exits pit lane. I was looking down trying to calculate some fuel numbers. He ends up in a 3-wide situation and then ends up in the wall.
That's always fun. Just, you know, instantly done. That's the best thing that can happen.
Fortunately, it was not instantly done. We still went on to win the race.
Lucky guys. Oh, I think Mr. Brett Thurman from the lead of AM, he's made another oopsie.
He wasn't so lucky. Let's take a look at this one. Track temperature's not that scorching relative. Let's take a look. He was on the grass, but that's not the cause of it. It's pushing wide. It's pushing wide.
I think that was Cody Graham's just getting a little bit out of shape again. He's okay.
Oh, here we
go. Oh, no, Brett.
I mean, we said that you can push it wide. I don't think we really meant that you should push it that wide. He's not the only car that's just had an issue, by the way. Andrew Hardman, one of the last running pro machines. Check out what happened to his number 3.
Up over the hill, clips the curb too much, and that is... Oh, he kept it out of the wall. Well done there, Andrew Hardman. Good job getting on the brakes there, but, you know, I think he's going to be saying this setup at Watkins Glen, coming up the toe of the boot, that's hard, man.
Ridgeway past Milwain for 6th, 7th position. They've got Joey Haynes there as well.
Wanko Frey.
As now that's going to see him drift back across the track. Somehow that's not going to cause major chaos, but Wanko Frey was having such a strong run, it comes to an end.
I think Kevin Sandiego saw the end of his race for a moment there. That was terrifying. As Wanko Frey, I think he had the right intentions in mind. I think he was trying to back off of the racing surface, but in the process, he made a very terrifying situation for Kevin Sandiego. He had a little bit more room in that angle, but from his perspective, inside that helmet, he saw death.
13.5 minutes left on the clock, but I think once again we're going to be laps limited. We've got about 11.5 left to go as Kofre will come to the line with a 6-second buffer to Palacio. 7 to go then here at Watkins Glen to finish up the season. And Joey Tebben wants to check on in with the one, the only James Carter. So let's say hello to the man with the fan.
There it is. We need to get more drivers in this series to turn their zooms on.
I thought you were going to say turn their fans on.
Well, they need to do that as well. It's good to keep cool. James Carter representing the American Red Cross this week again. Just recently, they determined that his blood was good enough to be donated. They're finally letting British people donate blood.
Wait,
in the
they
US.
are?
That's what James Carter told me, I think.
Okay, I'm just saying that we maybe need to have a conversation with him because I legitimately have never been able to donate blood, and you may actually have just made my year.
Well, James Carter is very close to the podium right now. With all the AM drivers who have crashed, Carter is up into the top 5 in AM. If there's 2 more drivers who fall off the podium, it's simple math. James Carter could get an AM podium, and that might be our excuse to talk to him at the end of the race. As right as I say that, John Quinn and Ray Courtney are trying to be those 2 drivers who take each other off the podium.
I mean, and if John Quinn gets taken off the podium, he gets taken out of the championship, and Alexander Rivera will say, thank you very much, I'll grab it. It will still be a rookie esports driver because Brad Miller is back out, albeit 2 laps down. So we'll see exactly how it plays out. Honestly, now I'm trying to resist the temptation to just go and look on Google if I can go. And this was, of course, about Mad Cow all those years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm a bit lost for words, Joey, because I just assumed I was never going to be able to donate blood. Milwain, temporary issue with the internet, but as they scamper across the line to mark 6 to go, it's still Ridgeway that leads from Milwain and Haynes as they work down into turn 1. Now, does 6 plus 7 come out up against turn 1? I think it does. And James Carter's just got 1 free position potentially because Ray Courtney's gone around.
And there is James in the 70 coming up. 1 more position and James Carter ends up on the podium in AM. This could very well happen. I'm currently scrolling up in the James Carter chat history myself. I'm trying to find his message. But here is his best friend Ray Courtney clipping the grass up over the top of the final corner of the boot. And some Armco for good measure. And here comes Ray Courtney in to fix that damage.
Yeah, not shocked. Haynes in front of Milwain now as they work their way on through. for some of these drivers, if they aren't feeling an open wheel challenge, there's plenty of other series in the PRL for them to go to. I think that's one of the fun things that you've got here. You've got a nice solid community from which you can jump from open wheels to GT3s to maybe some NASCAR if you're really feeling that, then maybe on over to a Clio Cup while involved in a multi-class race with a Mazda MX-5 as well as a Toyota GR86. Not gonna lie, Monday nights do sound quite incredible next season.
I am so excited for Monday nights because it's the first time in PRL history that we have a multi-class series with 3 different categories. We've had 2 class series before, but 3 different categories. The MX-5, the GR86, and the Clio Cup. A little bit more trouble further back. I think that's Roberto Cofre, unfortunately, joining the Cofre fray of drivers who are out of the race.
Nicely done. When you say this is the first time we've had 3 classes, has the PRL had multi-class series before where it's not just Pro and Am?
Yes, there's been series where it was TCR and GT4. There was an IMSA series where it was GTE and LMP2. So it's happened before, but it's never been 3 categories. And I honestly don't know how that's going to stack up. I don't know how much overlap there's going to be. I don't know how much faster or what the fastest car is going to be of the MX-5, GR86, and Clio.
Honestly, I don't know either.
I honestly hope they're all kind of dead even, and we have maybe an MX-5 wins at one kind of track, a GR86 wins at another track.
I feel like that's a possibility depending on the schedule, but I feel like the GR86 is probably a bit faster than MX-5. I don't have a frame of reference to really know where a Clio Cup slots in, if I'm being fair, if perfectly honest. And again, don't forget, sign-up's open to everyone. If you want to join the Precision Racing League, we'll have a week or so off before we get the party started once more. Hit them with the URL once more, Joey.
PrecisionRacingLeague.com/forum. We've also heard from Based Pepep that they are registered for the Production Car Challenge Series next season. I don't know who Based Pepep is. I'm going to do some sleuthing to figure out who that is. But that'll be very exciting to see that series start to build itself up. Unfortunately, there's currently 1 driver signed up for the Clios. I think some drivers are waiting to get a chance to drive it for the first time next week. But once it's released, once people get their feet wet, I think we'll definitely see that number increase.
Honestly, that would have been a series where I would have been tempted to dust the dust off my rig. Only problem is we have other broadcasts on Monday night on RaceSpotTV. We're busy. We're busy. I mean, we're busy, but we also got a remarkable amount of response as Milwain and Haynes back and forth. It's teammates. It doesn't matter. Blah, 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 blah. Remarkable response to our open call for commentators and producers. Yeah, I was working through some of those submissions, applications, whatever you want to call them, today, and it's a lot of people, Joey. And Paul Connery, he said that he was going to... Yeah, Connery's going to have to say no to a lot more people than I think he bargained for, because unfortunately we don't do unlimited broadcasts, and so we only have so many opportunities to give to some of our people.
It's time for unlimited broadcasts on RaceSpotTV. 24 hours,
broadcasting.
8 days a week, just like I said, we're going to do it.
Okay, who owns... I'll talk to Siri after this, but we will find out who owns the music rights to 8 days a week. We have a great team at the Universal Production Music Group that I'm sure can help us get that sorted. And Joey, just send me your credit card details. I'll let you pay for that.
I think I might have to put it on Connery's credit card. I think they might have to take care of that.
Down the hill, that's a little bit of lap traffic that the teammates in Evolve Simsport Colors work past. Front of the field, been a quiet one for Sebastian Cofre, and I mean, he's going to end the season with his first victory of the campaign. It's going to be a 7th top 5. And is he going to grab 2nd in front of Aussie Milwain? I think he will. Never trust a commentator's math.
Never trust a commentator's math. That is always difficult, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to break the calculator out.
Milwain's in 6th, Cofre's 1st, and has the benefit of the qualifying points. And Who's got the fastest lap? Let me check that. Cody Grams has the fastest lap, not Sebastian Coffrey. So there's no bonus points there. But Calculator Joey is working away in the background as your leader will come through the final sector to come to 2 laps to go. Ridgeway is closed on the back of Mr. Kevin San Diego as they squabble over what is now 4th and 5th positions. No real chance of them grabbing podium spots in what's been a race where some have worked their way forward nicely, like Stephen Ritter's plus 10, while others have found it a lot more difficult. Joey Haynes in particular, and we'll go to Joey Tebbin and hope that he's been able to do the X plus Y equals Z and get everything figured out.
Yeah, I was calculating stellar luminosities to stay in this class I signed up for. I can't do any more math, but I think it is enough for them. And also, very somewhat more interestingly, we have a battle for the top 5 in the championship with Max Preston out of the conversation tonight. Kevin San Diego and Robert Ridgway are tied on points in 6th and 7th place right now. Whichever one of them wins this battle gets 5th in the championship.
Someone needs to dial them up and let them know, by the way, just so they can make it even more exciting for us at the end of this one.
Robert, I can leave Race Spot right now and go yell in Robert Ridgway's ear. I can go do that.
No, let's leave him be. We'll save the distracting drivers during the race to the Porsche All-Star Series.
He's deafened. He's muted everything. He's in focus mode.
So yeah, he won't even let you. And you talk about focus. Look how wide he pushed it there as well. They've got to be careful. Milwain and Haynes on the scene as well. Although I think the two of them surely are going to be a little bit wiser, knowing that the team championship basically rests on them finishing the race from where they are. It's got to all be about the decision-making. Sebastian Coffrey is going to wind out of the final couple of corners to take the white flag this time by. So indeed, we will finish the race with 26 laps complete. Joey, battle for 5th looks good, but have you figured out the battle for 2nd? That's where I'm trying to get my mind figured out on.
I'm thinking. So Coffrey, Sebastian Coffrey right now, if he wins this race, will score 35 points. You can hear 36 points because he got pole. You can hear how unsure I am.
How confident you are, yes.
And if Ozzy Milwain finishes 6th, he gets 25 points. So that is an 11-point difference, and that is enough for Coffrey to pass him.
Ridgway past San Diego, so we know that 2nd in the championship looks like it's going to swap around. It's all about 5th now on points as well. Ridgway in front of San Diego, but with Milwain and Haynes for company as they rise up through the S's for the very final time. They'll blast their way past the bus stop without getting onto the brakes and into that outer loop with maximum commitment. Will Ozzy Milwain work his way on forward, knowing that maybe he can grab 2nd in points? No, it's his teammate that looks to try and sweep past him on the outside. San Diego plays a little bit of the middle line and blocks the both of them. Ridgway, though, breaks away a little bit more as they dive down into the boot.
And that's exactly what Ridgway needed. There are no other passing opportunities for the rest of this lap unless Kevin San Diego is right on his rear attenuator, and he's not. He's lost 0.7 of a second, and that's going to be completely comfortable for Robert Ridgway. San Diego, though, is not so comfortable himself. Ozzy Milwain is going to have a run here, coming into the heel of the boot for the final time. Does he go for the dive, though?
Is he going to be brave enough? Don't think so. Maybe that's more about being smart enough, given the situation and given that a championship is on the line. Front of the field, though, it's going to be the first victory of the season. Sebastian Coffrey closes out on top. He'll grab 2nd in the points as well. And even though it's not the team championship for the Wave Italy Racing team, it's a 1 and 2 in terms of the Pro Championship. They will be delighted with that. Julio Palacio and Cody Grams grab podiums to close out the season, while Robert Ridgway does finish in front, not just of Kevin San Diego, but in front of Milwain and Haynes as well. San Diego
ran out of fuel. He ran out of fuel coming to the line. That's given Ozzy Milwain an extra position.
I was wondering. So there you go. Slow to the line, out of fuel, cutting it just that little bit too close. Meanwhile, we wait. We wait for our 2nd champion. We won't get to see Michael Coffrey across the line. Instead, we'll celebrate John Quinn, your AM leader, and now as well the 2023 Season 1 Precision Racing League Formula 3 AM Championship winner, Joey.
Come all without, come all within. You cannot do nothing with the mighty Quinn. He's got it done. Another driver who has just upped his game so well this season. Both of the rookie esports drivers have been so good this season with MRP. Both of them deserve to win the championship. John Quinn ends up on top.
It is going to be a rookie esports 1-2, I think, so they'll at least take some consolation in that. That was a great camera shot that we were getting as we wait for the final couple of cars to come across the line. Alexander Rivera has just done so. It's Brad Miller and Ray Courtney that we will get across the line to finish up our season of competition. Rookie esports teammates celebrating down at the bottom of turn number 1, and with all the cars across the line, let's work our way over to some unofficial race results. 26 laps in the books, and Sebastian Coffret leads every single one of them on his way to his first victory of the season, with Palacio and Grams second and third podium winners as well. Atomic Racing and Robert Ridgway will grab 5th in the points, 4th on the track, in front of the Evolve Simsport duo of Milwain and Haynes that do enough in surviving to grab the team championship as it stands. Dark Horse Esports, represented by Kevin Sandiego in 7th, who drops on the final lap after running out of fuel. Fortunately, just in front of Hamilton Akabuizi, Stephen Ritters, and then Stephen Larkamp, 9th and 10th, with Manuel Vargas and Byron Daly, the rest of those pros finishing in front of AMS. John Quinn scored 13th overall, does enough despite struggling a bit at the start, doing a bit of an undercut, getting out of the dirty air to work his way forward and grab not just the AM champion class win, but of course the championship as well. To Hamill, Swindells, Carter, and then Rivera through the top 17. Rivera's going to feel a little bit hurt that his championship was taken out of his hands, as will Brad Miller further down through the field, but with Hardman, Thurman, and Broomhead making up the rest of the top 20. There's Miller in 21st, was doing as much as he could in front of Courtney, with Coffret one of many victims, along with Juan Coffret, Max Chavely, Ryan Miles, our Pro Championship winner Michael Coffret, who tangled unfortunately coming out of the outer loop and found himself with Andrew Waring back in pit lane, James Malaire, Justin Negretti, and then as well Dave Peterson round out the field of cars that we saw here today. We'll work our way over to some post-race interviews, and I tell you what, let's start with, I was going to say our race winner, but I don't know, Joey, if we've got Sebastian Coffret standing by, so instead, why don't we see if we can dial up John Quinn to have a chat with our AM Championship winner.
I think Takeshi Kita's gone to bed, so we have no translator for Sebastian Coffret, but we do have the mighty Quinn himself. It all ended up going your way, John, here. The AM Championship in F3 this season. Talk us through, first of all, what you were feeling when you saw your two rivals get wiped out, and now your emotions as a champion.
Holy cow, are you kidding me? We missed the setup so hard, it's not even funny. I pit early just to get out of traffic, and then, all I hear is Alex yelling about somebody not holding the brake, and I look at Relative, and magically I'm catching him and Brad. Dude, I'm not even supposed to have been remotely competitive for anything higher than 20th tonight. So I'm over the moon that I even finished. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Certainly seems like it. And next season, you're another guy who's going to be back with us here. Do you think it'll be back in the AM class? Could they potentially promote you up to the pro class as champion? But either way, I imagine you're looking forward to next season.
I'm fine with pro. I'm fine with AM. We spent the whole week in practice, Alex and I talking about, for over a decade I've done sim racing and I don't have fun. I get too hyper fixated. I start to hate things, and I have had so much fun this season. Partnering with Alex has been a blast, and I can't wait to come back and do it again next season.
Well, the AM winner today at Watkins Glen, the AM champion in 2023 Season 1 in F3. Congrats, the mighty Quinn, and we'll see you next season, even mightier.
Thanks, guys.
John Quinn, he's done it. The mighty Quinn, finally one of my nicknames lives up to its expectations. We got second place finisher Julio Palacio here. But Julio, you were almost a winner of your own with Sebastian Coffret checking out on lap 1. You still beat everybody else who was still alive.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I didn't get a good call in there, so I had to do a lot of work to get myself up there, and then he was long gone, so congrats to him on that win.
It was Watkins Glen without the bus stop. We looked to this race as sort of a pack race. We looked for the high speeds coming into here. Are you happy we came here without the bus stop?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the bus stop's a lot of fun too. So I like both of them. I mean, this one obviously made the draft a lot stronger. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, congrats on the second place run here this season, Julio. And we know you'll be one of the guys fighting for the championship next season. So we'll see you in 3 weeks.
Thanks. I look forward to it. Thanks, guys, for everything that you do. Thanks to PRL. Thanks to SRT.
All right, Julio Palacio, your second place finisher. We do have third place Cody Grams as well, who is here with us on the podium. Cody, another guy coming from the back of the grid. That was quite the fight forward.
Yeah, it was a long, frustrating race to say the least. It was had a lot more pace, but with that long straightaway, just couldn't get away to catch up to Sebastian. But congrats, Sebastian and Julio, on taking first and second.
So the elephant in the room with the past couple of seasons, you've got a bunch of wins, but it's been part-time for the last 2 seasons. What's going to happen next season on Thursdays? Are we going to have you for a full 10-week season?
I will try my best. That all depends on the work schedule. Every week that I've missed was due to work, unfortunately. So hopefully next season I can make enough races for the championship.
We hate those darn work schedules. PRL, we got to get people paid for this. We got to get them in a full-time job. But congrats on the podium to end the season, Cody. Congrats on the wins this season, and see you in 3 weeks' time, hopefully.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for the broadcast. Take it easy.
Always a pleasure. Mr. Cody Grams rounds out our podium here. Michael Coffray, Pro Champion. John Quinn, Am Champion. What a way to end the season.
Great way to end what's been a fun little season in this Formula 3 machine, and you mention it in those interviews. It's 3 weeks before these drivers get up and go again if they return on a Thursday night, or maybe they return to pastures new in the PRL landscape. I mean, the schedule is what the schedule is because it is the iRacing official schedule, but this has been a really interesting challenge over the last 10 weeks, Joey.
It has what a melange of tracks, from the tightness of Rudskogen to the wide open spaces of Spa and Coda, for that matter. And who knows what next season will spit up. I can probably expect that one of the new tracks, Jerez, will be on the schedule next season. But other than that, who knows? It could be a return to Rudskogen. I personally hope we see them go to the Indianapolis road course. I think that would be a pretty good race. And who knows? It all comes down to iRacing. If you're listening,
I mean, at the end of the day, you just want to talk about Indy cars. I mean, we know that.
Maybe.
Yeah, let's just be real. At the end of the day, though, it's time for us to say goodbye. Yes, at least for these drivers, it's a bit of an off-season. Don't forget, Precision Racing League action does not stop, at least when it comes to our NASCAR competition. Sunday, as always, the drivers will be out in force, so make sure you stay tuned on RaceSpotTV. For now, though, we say goodbye. An entertaining night, worthy champions, and plenty of drivers looking to 3 weeks from today when they'll go once again. On behalf of the team at RaceSpotTV, for Joey Tebben alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for your company this evening. We'll see you for 2023 Season 2, but Season 1's in the books. 2023 has started off with a blast.